And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
All right, attention to roll call.
Good morning, dude. We're getting awfully close to Man of the Year. We're getting pretty close here. What day? It's now Friday the 13th. Friday 13th in December. We're getting very close. I mean, Eric Adams is a survivor. He's like a Norwegian rat, brother. He can survive anything. So, what do you think about your boy Eric Leroy, a.k.a. Eric Naga Adams?
He's the new Tulsi Gabbard, bro. All the conservatives love him. Benny the Cuck Johnson, all the fake conservative influences. All these guys, I love all of these guys that are like conservative influences. They all look like your local Democrat who loves AOC and voted for Kamala Harris because they probably did. But everybody listens to these people, and now Eric Adams is the hero of the conservative media influences. It's again because he said stuff. He already won Man of the Year in my opinion. I mean, if I'm a betting man, and I am, I mean the odds are solely in his favor at this point. It's not like the possibility of him not making it to the end of the year is slim to none.
Well, I definitely called it before the election. I said he would survive. I mean, he's a hell of a character. But again, I don't know how everybody gets bamboozled by Eric Adams. He says one thing. He's a guy who can literally tell you something. 5 seconds later, tell you something completely different. Go, yeah, that's what I mean. What do you mean? Which one? Both. But Sanctuary City. You and I both talked about this on the podcast. We drilled it home. We had our finger on the pulse talking about Sanctuary City, talking about an executive order. Eric Adams could do an executive order. Eric Adams' administration doesn't care about the law anyway. They bypassed everything, and they could have done it with sanctuary cities. But the world has changed now. The world has changed for Eric Adams. So, I mean, I hope people really don't believe that Eric Adams is serving the public. Eric Adams is serving himself. That's it. Eric Adams is number one. I mean, listen, he said he's going to reign. He was right. He wasn't lying. That part, he wasn't lying.
Well, I mean, I think the funny part about the whole Sanctuary City thing is we had people on here when I said that he could easily do an executive order. There were people on here that were calling me a liar. No, he can't. You don't understand. You don't understand how it works. I'm like, no, I understand full well how the office of the mayor works. And I know that he could do an executive order and change Sanctuary City policy. He could do an executive order and allow ICE to work with the NYPD. And everyone called me a liar. Viral news, I'm a liar. All of the sycophants for Eric Adams, all these conservative cucks that honestly, by the way, I like sausage in the morning with my breakfast. All those guys, they all said I'm a liar. And now, guess what happens? Eric Adams said yesterday he's going to use executive order. And everybody jumped up and down. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. Time out. You said I was a liar. You said I didn't know what I was talking about, and now you're celebrating it. So for 3 years, Eric Adams was well aware. Of course, he was. He's not as dumb as he comes off, as he appears or he speaks to be. For 3 years, Eric Adams could have changed all of this, right? He could have not been a totalitarian mayor. He could have actually followed the law when it came time to do the mandate. He could have actually followed the law as it applied to right to shelter. He could have followed the law as it applies to federal immigration law. No, he didn't do that. He spent billions and billions of dollars. He incentivized the entire world to come here. And as early, I'm not saying as early, as late as even 3 weeks ago, the official position in New York City was the border should remain open. So I don't know where all this love for Eric Adams is coming from. I think it's disgusting. I honestly do.
Well, I mean, listen, we call Eric Adams a chameleon. He is a chameleon. I mean, I think you and I said a long time ago, actually put up that clip on this podcast numerous times where Eric Adams specifically said when he returned back from Puebla in Mexico City, what did he say? He said the position remains open borders and it's a sanctuary city. And who echoed that? The upper echelon of the administration. John Shell echoed that, right? We can't investigate. We can't ask the immigration status of our arrestees, right? He said, this is something that the mayor has to look into. I wonder what John Shell is saying right now. I'm sure John Shell is going to be openly MAGA right now too. God bless to him. He doesn't have to be MAGA in the sheets anymore and walk in the streets. He can actually just be full out, all blown MAGA now. But again, I think this is at this point, does it matter? Do we really care what's in Eric Adams' heart? We don't even know who this man truly is. I mean, no one knows who he is right now. Can we actually trust him? But the point is, does it matter at this point? If it's going to be beneficial to New York City, which it is, it's by far beneficial to be a sanctuary city, then what has happened now with this election? And Eric Adams being indicted is actually the best thing that's ever happened for the city right now as he continues to be mayor. I mean, and unfortunately, it appears he has the best chance to get reelected because who are they putting in against him right now? Nobody's. Not that Eric Adams is somebody, but and that's the only thing I'm saying by this is that the only one the city could actually benefit right now. But why could this have happened before then? I mean, it's unfortunate, but if
I don't agree. I don't think that the city could benefit. I think he's full of shit. I think that the coffers will still be drained. He'll just do it singing a different tone. Listen, he's said a couple of things that are right in 3 years. He's said a couple of what has he actually done? If you think that Eric Adams is actually going to accomplish anything on his own, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. There's nothing good coming out of this. The only thing that's good is the far left progressive totalitarian rhetoric is out of New York City, so it's good for the mental health of New Yorkers and New York City workers. That's it.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious because you know what? I'm thinking about it right now. Like here it is, almost 4 years in the tenure of the mayor. We can't think of one thing he's done good. And what I'm saying is like this is the best thing that we can see right now is him actually speaking about a sanctuary city. We talked about this a long time ago. Sanctuary city is a blanket of protection for illegal military age males. And what I'm saying is the only benefit right now for the city is that we can actually move in that direction. Will he actually do it? That's actually a great point. I agree with you. What he's saying, what he'll do is not the same thing. We know Eric Adams says a lot of things, but does something completely different. He walks a different drum and different beat of what he's actually saying. And so the question would be, after this meeting, and Eric Adams now, is willing to have an executive order to have a sanctuary city, will he then actually transpose this to the NYPD? Will the NYPD actually start to administer policy where they're actually going to coordinate with their federal partners as they should? That's the question. So, no, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think he's going to do anything. I'm just saying it's a benefit to the city that he's actually saying the right things because he's been bamboozling the entire time. He's bamboozling them now. Is he going to do it? Probably not. Probably not. He's going to say it until he gets his pardon. And once he gets his pardon, I'm sure he'll be back to the pre-indictment Eric Adams.
Eric Adams is all about Eric Adams. Eric Adams doesn't have a stance. He never had a far left stance. He never had a progressive stance. He never had a conservative stance. He never had any stance. He just had the stance that benefits him the most financially. And financially, it was beneficial to be a far left Democrat. So that's why he pushed all these open borders. This is why he pushed these mandates. This is why he wanted to throw Donald Trump in jail for being politically persecuted. So now the winds are blowing. Everybody's afraid. He has a lot of reason to be afraid because he's done a lot of dirt in his long-standing career in New York City that he should have never had. But that's another story for another day. But he is just, at this point, this is Eric Adams. This is Eric Adams. Save me, Eric Adams. This isn't about money anymore. This is about. So Eric Adams wants to remain free. He's got money. He's made a lot of money. You know, are we still going to see shady things in his campaign donations? I think every day we continue to learn different, more and more stuff. His campaign donations, they won't even give him matching funds because they don't trust him. They don't trust the donations that are coming in. So, you know, exactly. I am pretty Franco says he's still the Biden of Brooklyn. He said it himself. He's Joe's favorite mayor. I'm the Biden of Brooklyn. I mean, the dude. I'll show you a video from 2-3 weeks ago. No, it was probably about 2 months ago at this point. 2 months ago, where he's talking about Joe Biden is the direction this country needs. Joe Biden is the direction this country needs. And then a month after that, it was Kamala Harris is the direction this country needs. The guy is, you do not know who Eric Adams is, because if it benefits Eric Adams, he's going with you. If it doesn't, he doesn't. So here's the press conference from yesterday. I mean, just watch right off the bat. I'm going to stop this early and often because the things he says here are ridiculous. And again, conservative media, these fake conservative influences that all look like a bunch of far left Democrats from Bushwick that moved from Ohio, because that's what they all are, by the way. They all jump down and, oh, yeah, he's so great. He's so great. Listen to this press conference. This is amazing. It truly is. Truly is.
I have stood.
No walkout music today, folks.
Good
Let's
afternoon.
go over here.
And you know, these are tough times. We got to make tough decisions. And I have stood in front of you guys, many of you, throughout this entire migrant asylum seeker ordeal, and took great strides to articulate my position. Just to wake up the next day and see you write different stories that distort what I've stated.
So, has he properly articulated his position in 3 years? Has his position remained consistent as it relates to, and he can't even say the word, he continues to say it, migrant asylum seeker crisis. This is a crisis of open borders and illegal aliens. So, has he remained consistent is the question I want to know, because he's coming up here and saying that he's been consistent and the media has been misconstruing his words.
I gotta tell you, as I said, you and I both say it. He's an idiot. He's a complete moron, but he's a political genius. Every time he comes up to gaslight the public, his introduction opens up with some type of manipulation where, oh, you know what, the media, where they're trying to twist what I say, and then he'll go into it. Because what he's about to say is the next lie. So he's already preparing the pathway for the next lie. He's a political genius when it comes to that. You know, trying to manipulate what I'm saying. No. You said the position is open borders, sanctuary city, blanket protection. You've said it. Jessica Tisch, in her early days of being police commissioner, her first couple of days, reiterated what you wanted her to say. What did she say? Jessica Tisch said it herself. She's data-driven, and yet she gave a fundamental response based on her beliefs, which are not necessarily, we don't know if it's her actual beliefs or it's what Eric Adams believes. And what did she say? She said that most of the people come here for a better life. You know, the people aren't coming here to commit crimes. You said you're data-driven. You don't even have the data. I'm not saying they're coming here to commit crimes or not. But we're saying we have illegal military-age males that are creating havoc that stem from a gang called Tren de Aragua. And yet you say you're data-driven. Where's the data? Eric Adams is a complete chameleon. Eric Adams' position has been a sanctuary city. Eric Adams' position was open borders. Eric Adams has created a welcome mat. It's been the touchdown. It's been the touchdown location for illegal military age males. Not only did he allow them, but you said it earlier, and you're spot on. He incentivized it. Food, shelter, look for jobs. He invited them. He opened the door. And now Eric Adams is skipping a complete different beat.
While Eric Adams was firing Maul and Beto, forcing people to make a decision to put something in their body or lose their careers, right after Moore and Rivera were executed. By the way, I should add. Then he fired Marlon Bethel right after that. And he would have fired Moore and Rivera too had they not been murdered. So this guy doesn't give two shits about any cop on New York City streets at all. He fired cops for absolutely no reason. He fired firemen, he fired teachers, he fired nurses, he fired the lifeblood of this city. He fired integral, lifelong members in New York City for absolutely no reason. And while he did that, he sat there and he fought to get illegal aliens to work. And you're going to hear him talk about this again, that he wants illegal aliens to work. He's going to sit here again, but yet he's going to continue to say that he's remained consistent. I mean, my Twitter is a living documentation of how consistent Eric Adams has been. It's a living documentation of it. He's been very consistent on that the police shouldn't work with ICE, that the borders should remain open, that New York should remain a sanctuary city, that illegal immigrants should have everything for free, including healthcare and college, and be given jobs that they're unqualified for. I mean, the last 3 years of my Twitter and Eric Adams has been amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say you can't at some point have an epiphany and change your mind. I'm not sitting here and saying that at all. If Eric Adams truly had an epiphany and changed his mind, he wouldn't be sitting up here and telling you that he's been saying this from day one and he's been consistent, because he hasn't. And he's lying to you now. He hasn't been saying this from day one. He's been saying the exact opposite of what he's saying today. The exact opposite. And yet, I'm supposed to take this as genuine. The American public is supposed to take this as genuine. And the unfortunate thing is that most people take this as genuine because they put on Fox News or they put on whatever channel and they're like, no, I heard it on the news. Yeah, he's going to get rid of everybody. It's like, no. Time out. Have you not been paying attention to the last 3 years? Have you can't remember 3 weeks ago what this guy was saying? Like, it really bothers me. It really, really bothers me how easily people are read around like fools. It really bothers me. I'm not telling you any way to think. Eric's not telling you any way to think. But this guy, for 3 years, has said the exact opposite. And now he's telling you that he's never said any of those things, that everything that he's saying today is what he's been saying for 3 years. Absolute, utter lie.
It's interesting that you said that. It's definitely important to note. Throughout my career with the police department, I remember saying to myself, you know what? Most of these guys, not all of them, but overwhelming majority, let's be honest, of cops would get their information third person. They would say, hey, you know what? I remember, I'll never forget when they came out with a new, especially working in housing, they came out with a new criminal trespass patrol guide procedure. And it was all these guys like, oh, you heard, we can't arrest anybody anymore for criminal trespass. I said, what? What are you talking about? They said, yeah. That's what they said. You can't arrest anybody for criminal trespass anymore. I said, did you actually read the procedure? No, that's what everybody's saying. So everyone was getting their information third person. And I remember I actually sat down. I said, you know what, let me read this procedure again. And I remember I sat down, I read the procedure. I said, you know something? They actually broke it down and they made it easier for you to justify and the legalities of a criminal trespass arrest in housing. They actually simplified it and they made it Barney style. I said, maybe you should actually sit there and read it yourself. But everyone's getting information third person. And it's the same thing when it comes to politics and the Eric Adams administration with the overwhelming majority of cops, where it's like, oh yeah, he said he's going to do this. He says, I said, are you paying attention? Have you been actually, are you watching? Are you listening? You're getting your information third person. You need to put your finger on it yourself. And that's the problem. Third person, and just like as a kid, when you play telephone, the information's not the same by the time you're at the end of it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, so let's hear a little bit more of the swagger man.
So I'm not wasting my time. I'm being very clear, and I'm not going to spend hours answering your questions over and over again for you already to have your preconceived notions and your distorted views on what I have articulated. We're going to protect the rights of immigrants in the city that are hardworking, giving back to the city in a real way. we're not going to be a safe haven for those who commit repeated violent crimes against.
So he's telling you right here. He just said it. What did he just say to you? We're going to be a safe haven for illegal immigrants. He just said it. So I guess he has been consistent, right? But nobody picks up on what he says. He looks like he just got his ass chewed by Tom Homan. And I don't think he got his ass chewed because I think he sat in there and he played, oh, yeah, I love what you guys are doing. I love this administration. This is the best administration. I'm so happy you guys won. They didn't know what they were doing. You know, I'm Donald's favorite mayor. You know, I can't believe. No, the media doesn't grab this. Benny Johnson doesn't grab this. We are going to be a safe haven for illegal immigrants. He just said it. Well, he didn't use those words, obviously, but that's exactly what it is. That's the truth of what he said. He said, we're going to be a safe haven for illegal immigrants. But, you know, not those who commit crimes, which totally goes against what he had said 3 weeks prior. And what John Shell had said 3 weeks prior is that those people aren't illegal. They're paroled into the country, meaning they have constitutional rights. So which one is it, Eric? Are you following the law? Are you not following the law? Because to me, it sounds like you're a little confused in your own stance. And I don't blame the media for beating the crap out of you because I don't know what you're talking about. How could they? How could they?
Well, that's why he's a complete chameleon. We don't know what he's for, what he's against. He does a great job of actually, it's amazing, his entire tenure as mayor, especially when it comes to the men and women of the police department and what he says about the boots on the ground, right? He'll say publicly, oh, right, he supports the cops. He says he supports the cops. Meanwhile, he puts a judge that's anti-cop. He says he supports the cop. Meanwhile, we have protests night after night after night that are actually riots, polarizing to the police department. Eric Adams will not reinstate and vindicate the hard men and women that had to make a decision like yourself, John, within 7 days, whether to continue on your career and violate your own religious beliefs or take on a new career in life and just completely leave your lifestyle within a 7-day mark, not 7 business days, 7 days. And Marlon Bethel didn't even make that decision. Marlon Bethel was terminated. Marlon Bethel lost his career. He's not a legal military age male. Marlon Bethel is a citizen. His family came to this country and he made a beautiful life of it. That's what we're talking about, Americans. I mean, these people don't have constitutional status yet. Listen, I believe in immigration too, but legal immigration. I'm not first generation here, you know, and neither are you, John. Our families came here. But they came here, you know, through struggle. They came here the hard way. They care about this country. But again, Eric Adams, he's not confused. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's going to pander to his constituents while begging Donald Trump at the same time. Now the question really comes down to, is Donald Trump going to give him a pardon, or is Donald Trump just playing with him? Rich Rod, shout out to you. Coffee and donuts, $20. Thank you so much. I mean, you've been dipping your hand in your pocket every day. We really appreciate it. He says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Likewise, good morning to you. Thank you so much for always being a friend, and coffee and donuts. We appreciate it.
No, it's an absolute right. Rich, thank you, brother. Merry Christmas, dude. Yeah, let's go a little further into this this mishmash of conflicting ideas. Oh, and before I forget, let's not forget that the NYPD and every city agency, him and his little weasel that he has as his media guy, I forget the guy's name, the little guy with the slick back hair. He has him had him and all the state agencies parroting everything. And one of the things that the NYPD and every city agency said was that they were rallying to get illegal immigrants to work. So while he's keeping myself and Marlon Bethel out of work and thousands of other lifelong New Yorkers, he's rallying all of his agencies. He's using his agencies politically, which is against the rules, which is against city charter. He's using them to campaign and to electioneer he's using these agencies, their own social media. They all had to parrot the same thing, that illegal immigrants need to be able to work. So let's not forget that either. That's a great point. So let's see where else he goes.
Innocent migrants, immigrants, and longstanding New Yorkers. That was my conversation today with the border czar, to figure out how do we go after those individuals who are repeatedly committing crimes in our city. We're going to tell those who are here, who are law-abiding, to continue to utilize the services that are open to the city, the services that they have a right to utilize, educating their children, healthcare, public protection, and the things that we have long been proudful in doing so. But we will not be a safe haven for those who commit violent acts. We don't do it for those who are citizens, and we're not going to do it for those who are undocumented. We made terrible mistakes in the past by preventing to keep our city safe from those who are committed repeated acts of violence, particularly these dangerous gangs that we have witnessed in our city, and we're not going to continue in that direction. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then I am leaving, because it's not going to matter what I respond to anyway. You have your preconceived thoughts already.
Okay, first of all, I do not have a preconceived thought. I want you to know that right from the start.
Thank you.
Number one here, are we talking about people who are just charged? Or does that, convicted, or does that include charged? And how exactly, if you could give us some specifics, would this work?
Our legal team is vetting. Do we have the authorization to sit down and speak with ICE legal team to operationalize what both our desires are? And once we get that approval, then we will give you a complete layout of how it's going to work.
So basically, he has no idea what he's talking about.
I can't stop laughing.
He can't go back and say what he just said 2 weeks ago, where he said they're paroled in this country, that he illegally. The laws. Now he's telling you he's going to deport them. He's just going to break the law. I don't believe he's breaking the law. I believe he was misinterpreting the law. But he can't ever go back on what he said. He just has to keep on this line that I've been consistent. So now when he's asked, he's annoyed. He's attacking reporters here. Before they even ask a question, he's attacking them. And the girl's like, well, I don't have a preconceived notion, but can you explain to me how this works? I think that's a fair question. I think that if you're the mayor, probably understand how that works, but he doesn't think so. He just says, I'm going to have to get my legal team to tell you that, because he has no clue. None.
I thought it was great. Immediately, he already got on the defense because he knew the questions were coming that he couldn't answer, right? Because they're not transparent. There's actually zero plan. This is all just word salad right now to get a pardon. So, yeah, he doesn't believe what he says. I'm saying I hope it's good for New York City, what he's saying, that people, that the police department actually buys into it. But, I think it's just word salad because clearly he's got no plan. He's already like, listen, you're going to ask me questions, but I'm going to answer a question, then I'm going to leave. He's already paved the way. Like, we're not getting to the weeds on this. I think it's a fair question. What is your plan? That's a great question, right? Because right now with the policy with the NYPD along with the sanctuary city is that we don't ask the immigration status. So, and he's saying, people who commit violent acts, right? I mean, according to Tiffany Caban, burglary is not a violent act. So have you laid out your plan? Is it going to be all crimes? Is it going to be just violent crimes? Do they have to be indicted? Is it the arrest? Do we have to wait to conviction? He doesn't lay these out because none of this has actually been planned out because it's never happening. And that's what the bottom line. So I agree with you. What you said earlier in the episode, this isn't happening. This is just word salad so he can buy himself time till he can get a pardon. Because ultimately what he's saying here, the zero plan, I think there was a fair question. It's spot on. Okay, we're going to transition from a sanctuary city to a city that actually works with ICE. What is the plan? That's a very, what is the plan? How is it going to work with the police department? Again, lack of transparency, inadequacy, inept. He just doesn't care. He doesn't serve the public. He serves himself. And I'm glad they asked that question. And I hope they keep pressing him on it, but they won't. If this was former Mayor Bill de Blasio, and listen, I think he was a fool. But I have far more respect because he would have stood there. He would have stood there. He would have been pressed, and he would have asked some tough questions. Mayor Eric Adams always gets a pass. Always gets a pass. They take it light and they take it easy on him, and he knows it.
Yeah. So a vet saying we're all immigrants. Blah 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 blah. Listen, I get it. My family came here from Italy. There were thousands and thousands of jobs. They helped build New York City. That is not the America today. So if vet says, do you have any clue how bare bones the American workforce across all careers? This Bitcoin stock-rich generation providing no production, just leeching from society. I'm sorry. I think you're completely off kilter. There is a stock of workers here. Absolutely. We don't have all these jobs. If we had all of these jobs, why aren't they working? Nobody follows the employment rules anyway. Who are we kidding? Go to any restaurant in New York City. You're telling me they follow the immigration labor laws? No. I don't see that the majority of these people that came into the country want to work. I see some type of work that they're doing, but it's not legal work. We're bringing in low-skilled people to perform what jobs? To be teachers, to be cops, to be military? Those are trained, skilled professionals. I see military-age males that are robbing people, working menial jobs. These jobs have what? That's like the American, oh, I'm better than everyone. Someone has to mow my lawn. Guess what? A veteran mows my lawn. I pay him. A veteran, and he pays other veterans. An American mows my lawn, who has a company, who pays taxes. That's who mows my lawn. So I don't know that argument. When I don't ever understand that argument. Again, go to Mexico. Go across the border illegally, Mexico. Go look for work. Let me know how that works out for you. When you need bail money, I mean, I'll send it, but I don't think that it's going to get to you. So I don't know what the argument is with people. Like, I really don't. The thing that we have no jobs here, that we have all of these jobs that people aren't willing to do, show me which ones. Show me which ones. I'll do anything. I've done everything. I've worked almost everything. I still till today do jobs that people would probably make fun of me for if they found out what I did. But I could care less because it doesn't matter to me. I have to put food on the table. I have mouths to feed. It doesn't matter to me. Money's money. Whether I'm digging a hole, I'm driving a cab, whatever the hell I'm doing, I do it.
Upstate Detective Coffee and Donuts. Good morning to you, brother. Friend to the podcast. He says, good morning, brothers. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Fun Fridays. I think it's fun talking about Eric Adams. I mean, honestly, it's like this is comedy hour. That's actually this is an hour of politics that's just completely intercepted New York City. I mean, this is hilarious. If you actually listen to what he said, it's actually hysterical because he has zero plan. He has no idea what he's saying, no idea what he's doing. You almost see it's almost like one of these boards where the words are going across. But Eric Adams, in his mind, something completely different is going on because he's thinking to himself, man, this is just a complete hogwash. He knows it. That's why he wants to get out of there. He's got zero plan on how this is going to be and how this is going to work and if it's going to be implemented at all. Via says Ventores, shout out to you, $20, coffee and donuts. De Blasio was a communist psycho. The immigrants of past mostly had a different mindset to work hard and assimilate. Today, it's freebies and handouts, all while bringing the third world mentality. Yeah, I agree. I believe that we're bringing the third world problems to a first world nation. Absolutely. I think that the spoils of South America have actually emptied out into the U.S. I don't think that it's interesting. Yvette's comment. I got to push back that, and also, we're not getting from South America. Let's be honest. We're not getting doctors. We're not getting dentists. We're not getting the finest professionals leaving that country to come to America. In South America, they're not letting their doctors and their dentists, they're not trying to push them out. No, they're letting the spoils of the jails in South America, they're emptying them out to come to the U.S., to penetrate the U.S. Tren de Aragua has spread throughout the entire country. We have a criminal element here that's come from a third world country. Are there people seeking jobs? Yes. But I agree, John. I always said it. If I got to sweep a broom, I'll sweep a broom. And so I think that's I think at that point is kind of moot. But I understand what you're saying, Yvette. But are these people actually the best and brightest that are coming from South America? No. Look around. Look what's going on at Roosevelt Hotel. We're not getting the finest people. We're getting people that are coming here to create havoc. We're not getting we see it all the time, right? Not getting families, getting illegal military age males that come from the spoils of jails and gangs in South America.
All right, let's continue on with this.
Yes.
Sir.
Mhm.
When you told Mr. Homan, I'm willing to work with you to make sure we're not a safe haven for people committing crimes, he pushed back and say, I'm looking to deport beyond that. I'm looking to deport undocumented people simply because they are documented dreamers, for instance, asylum seeking migrants who have not committing crimes. And what, if anything, did you say about deporting those people who have not done any crime?
He told you he pushed back on it?
I'm asking you, did
Okay. All right.
on you saying I want a broader scope?
From what I heard from the incoming head of ICE is that we have the same desire to go after those who are committing violent acts, repeated violent acts among innocent New Yorkers and among migrants and asylum seekers. That's what I heard from him, and I was pleased to hear that because we share the same desire.
He looked defeated, bro. I'm sorry. He is just a defeated. I'm sorry. He is not having a good day. He is that discussion did not go as well as and he's completely lying here. He's completely lying. He can't even answer the question.
No, he can't answer the question. What did he say? He said, he has to see, right? He has to see with his legal team. I mean, you have to see what's going on with the legal team. You are the head of the team. What are you talking about? This is your administration. This is your policy. And I don't see it as him violating the law. This is a law that violates federal law. The federal law is to work with ICE, is to work with the federal partners. So we violated the law before. Now what we're doing is we're going to make what's wrong into something right. But right now he doesn't know exactly what he's doing. He doesn't know anything. He knows right now he put himself in a position where he's just saying what he needs to say to just string himself along until January 20th. That's what he's waiting for. He's waiting for that inauguration. Hopefully he gets that part in the next day.
It's unbelievable.
Mayor, how are you?
Good. How are you, Craig?
Good. So in part of this meeting, you were looking how to address it and kind of meet the new administration a little halfway here, maybe, however you guys are going to meet. Part of that conversation, as you've mentioned, Marcia Kramer's show, is looking at executive orders. So was there any talk about executive orders? And then what would those executive orders entail, and how would they work to kind of address what you had discussed with the orders are today?
I spoke with our my legal team here to look at the powers of my executive orders to accomplish my goals of ridding our streets from those repeated individuals who carry out violent acts of violence towards New Yorkers and towards migrants and asylum seekers. And once we come to a full understanding of that, then we will report on it.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. What did you ask incoming order czar Homan about his plans for his scope for deportation? What questions did you ask him about how far he wants to go with deportations, and what did he tell you?
Well, I think that what has been reported is totally distorted from what our face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball conversation. His goal is the same goal I have. We cannot allow dangerous individuals to commit repeated violent acts of violence in our cities across America. I've said this before, and I'm surprised the way everyone is attempting to state this is a new coming of Eric Adams. I've stated this over and over again, long before this election, that this can't be a safe haven for violent individuals. You have a right, a privilege to live in this country, and those who want to commit acts of violence, they are violating that privilege.
Sir, that you're a law we got to keep it tight. Yolanda, go ahead. Living in a shelter. Thank you so much.
Señor alcalde, buenas tardes. Did Mr. Homan make any specific request from the city in order to work with you in this crisis?
His desire is clearly, again, what my target area is. And what I've learned also from sitting down with him and a representative from the Biden administration that was there in the meeting as well, we have 500,000 children who had sponsors in this country that we can't find. We can't find them. We don't know if they're doing child labor. We don't know if they're doing sex crimes. We don't know if they're being exploited. 500,000 children. There's a level of hypocrisy that everyone that states they want to protect everyone, but innocent individuals who are victims of crimes and children. I want to support and protect children and innocent people that are victims of crime. And those who don't understand that, it's not up to me to try to convince them. I know what my job is, my goal is, and I was clear of that while running and when I became mayor. Safety means everything to me. 500,000 children, we don't know where they are right now in this country.
So this is what all the conservatives are jumping on. This statement alone. This is what he's talking about. The 500,000 children that are missing. So while Eric Adams was campaigning, people like Rudy Giuliani, people like myself were saying, if you're going to continue the sanctuary city policy, you're furthering sex trafficking. You're exploiting children. You're letting innocent people be murdered coming across our border. They're risking their lives. Some people just don't even make the journey because the journey is so perilous. You're allowing all this. And for 3 years, over 3 years, he supported open borders. He wanted to deport no one. He hasn't looked into any of the sex trafficking that's occurring in his own city. By the way, because what they're not telling you on Roosevelt Avenue is that they're running into child sex trafficking. That's what the police. That's what your police department today isn't telling you. That's what all these strength and honor chiefs are not telling you. These supposed men of integrity. What they're not telling you is children are being exploited. And this isn't a shocker. Everybody's shocked to hear this today. Eric Adams is now telling you, oh, there's 500,000 kids. Yeah, no shit. That's what we've been saying for 3 years. No shit. Now everybody's shocked by it yesterday. Where have you people been? What have you been? What do you think's been going on? What do you think happens at all these brothels that have popped up all over your cities? What do you think it is? Sex trafficking. What do you think is happening at these massage parlors? They're sex slaves. What do you think has been going on? Who's shocked by this? You know who's shocked by this? Low information people who listen to the media and sit in the Overton window. They're either Fox News, their religion's either Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, and they know nothing. They know what they're being told, and they bite on these sound bites because they don't remember what this dude was saying 2 weeks ago. Absolutely disgusting and infuriating. You know why there's 500,000 children missing? Because of people like Eric Adams. Because of people that you elected that are just like Eric Adams and the policies he implemented and championed.
I agree with you, John. It's just like I always say, the Democrats, and especially Eric Adams, it's almost like they administer the Munchausen syndrome. He created all these problems. By having a sanctuary city, when I say it's a blanket protection, it's a blanket protection for illegal military-age males. The sanctuary city allows military-age males, illegal military-age males, to thrive in a gang such as Tren de Aragua, to commit robberies, right? And to benefit of a city that has failed legislation. A benefit from a city that when they get arrested, they don't coordinate with their federal partners. They get arrested. There's bail reform. When they get arrested, there's no accountability. And I'm sure for the most part, they're probably not even getting actually the appropriate charges. So here we go. 516 Diecast, shout out to you. Coffee and donuts, we appreciate it. $1.99. Says, have a safe weekend, gentlemen. Same to you. Have a safe weekend. Thank you for always being here. By the way, listen, we appreciate it. We get about 45 minutes into it. It's Friday. We're going to enjoy the weekend, right? But before you do that, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. If you're on X right now watching it live, share the podcast out. We appreciate it. Let's grow together. Let's build this network. Who else we got here? Christopher Dabrowski, good morning to you. $4.99, coffee and donuts. Thank you so much. Have an outstanding weekend. We appreciate it. And what did he say here also, Eric Adams? He said, well, again, I have to refer to my legal team. So which means that's his way of hiding behind this right now. And someone said it earlier in the comments. He doesn't appear to be the same Eric Adams. You don't see that confidence in him. And not at all. He's drowning in this because he knows he's completely lying. And what does Eric Adams do when he's lying and he gets caught with his pants down? He defers information and deflects it to another party, right? He does it, right? I don't know. Check with my people. Now he's telling you to check with his legal team. And he's not laying out what is a violent crime, right? And when do we start taking action to actually have people deported? When do we take action? When they're arrested? Do we wait till they're actually convicted? Do we wait until they've been arrested 25 times? I mean, when do we actually take that action? And he doesn't lay it out here. And John, I just think there's absolutely no plan. I think it's word salad. He's just surviving until he gets that pardon. And I think if he does get that pardon, he'll be right back to pre-indictment Eric Adams. And he's drowning in this press right here. Drowning.
Mickey Murphy says, I'm beginning to believe Adams voted for Trump. I would not bet against you. He 100% voted for Trump. Joe Biden pardoned, I believe, 1,500 people yesterday. I think it was the largest pardon in American history, the largest amount of pardons at one time in American history by any sitting U.S. president. And Eric Adams wasn't one of those guys. I also think Joe Biden voted for Donald Trump, by the way. Yeah, I think you were right, but Eric Adams didn't vote for Trump for the same reasons that America voted for Trump. Eric Adams voted for Donald Trump because he needs to shift. He needs another move because the game's up with Eric Adams. He's been wheeling and dealing for far too long, and even his own party, who's highly corrupted, was like, you know what? I don't want to be around this guy anymore. He doesn't stop. He's no good. Billie Jean said Eric Adams is a crook. Yeah. And he hooked everybody on that 500,000 number. There were crimes committed in this country by elected officials. He's one of them. He needs Guantanamo Bay opened up. Treasonous. This man is treasonous.
Will New York remain a sanctuary city, and will you do anything to repeal any of the work that the de Blasio administration did to limit interactions with ICE and other immigration officials?
New York remaining a sanctuary city is determined by the city council. They told you what their position is. I'm going to try to attempt to use my executive orders to go after dangerous people who are committing violence acts against migrants and asylum seekers and long-term New Yorkers and undocumented immigrants. No one should be a victim of a crime in the city, and particularly violent crimes. And I said that over and over again. I'm going to continue to stand by that.
So he could use executive orders, like we said. You heard it right here. For 3 years, I've been hearing he cannot use executive orders. He doesn't have that power. Leave him alone. You're mistaken. You don't know what you're talking. He just said it right here. You know why he said it right here? Because I think that Tom Homan said, well, why aren't you using your executive orders? Why aren't you using your authority as the mayor then? If everything you're saying is true, why haven't you done it? What have you done about it? What have you done about it? And now he's whatever happened in that meeting did not go the way that everyone thinks it went. I'll tell you that right off the bat.
I think you nailed it, right? When it comes to that meeting, I don't think that Tom Homan, I mean, we don't know exactly what was said, but I would assume that he wasn't spoken, I don't think it was a two-way conversation. It appears he was spoken at, I don't know. Who knows if he said, hey, if you really want this pardon, here's what you got to do. But the bottom line is Eric Adams is drowning. And this is just, I look at the appearance of Eric Adams here. This is not the Eric Adams we know. This is not the Eric Adams. When Eric Adams is cocky and he feels like he has leverage on a press conference and he's one up on everybody else, he'll be laughing, right? You need me as mayor, right? We don't see any of that here. He's taking a complete different stance. He looks deflated to me. He looks completely deflated. Because he knows he's in a position right now where he's fumbling so much. It's like, how long can he play this game? How long could he survive in this? Even Eric Adams, I just think he's just completely drowning in it.
Yeah, so Sleeper Cell says, you guys are attacking him when he's trying to change course. I don't get it. He's not trying to change course. He just told you he's going to protect illegal immigrants and this will remain a sanctuary for illegal immigrants. He just told you that. So he's not changing course. And I said, I have no problem with him actually changing course. But don't pretend that this was always you. Don't talk to us like we're idiots. Tell us what happened. Why you now believe you were wrong. Why for years, the official position in New York City was the border should remain open. Why for years, the position of Eric Adams is New York would remain a sanctuary city. Why for years could you not use your executive order, but now you're going to? Why for years were you not going to allow the police department to harm undocumented immigrants, but now you're not? Tell us the truth. Don't talk to me like I'm an idiot. I'm not a sheep. Are you a sheep? Are you accepting that from someone who's been telling you the exact opposite for 3 years, now saying, I don't know what you got people don't get. I've been saying this forever. Are you serious? Why am I attacking him? Because he's treating you and us like we're morons. You should be infuriated. Everybody should be in. And then he goes on to tell you about all of the things that we've been saying are right. There's 500,000 kids that are missing in this country. You know why? Because of men like him. That's why I'm attacking him, because he's full of shit and you people are all buying onto it. It's sick. It's completely sick. And you got Benny Johnson. Yay! I can't believe it. And everybody else, yay! Wow! You know, and I love it. Always people send me all these conservative influences. I'm like, I was like, these people are Democrats. Don't send me any of that stuff. I don't ever want to see that stuff. I don't want it on my phone. I don't want to see it. I'm not sharing it. I don't want to see anything. There's a big cuck right in the front row there, too, sitting there. He used to pretend like he was a common sense, moderate guy, too, with a gray, dirty hoodie on, sitting there in the front row. He's another one. Phony bastards. The only thing they care about is the amount of clicks they get because they're dirtbags. And the only money they get is the money they get from Twitter for the clicks. So they're hopping on whatever news it is. They don't have a position on it. They're just sending it out because they need the millions of clicks to generate the money off their Twitter account. That's why. That's all they do. So they never have any hard positions. If I wanted to make money on Twitter, I could do the same exact thing, but I don't. My positions on Twitter actually get me the opposite. It gets me more hate and more everything else because my positions on Twitter are exactly what I believe and are exactly the truth. When their positions are, I'm just going to go with the wind, just like Eric Adams.
No, you got to kind of question at this point, is conservative media buying this? Or is this actually who conservative media in New York has always been? So, I mean, that's kind of the question at this point, because how could you buy this all-out lie? I mean, listen, we see right through it during this press conference. We see right through it through Eric Adams' entire tenure that he just gaslights and lies and manipulates everything. I mean, it's pretty brilliant on his part to say, hey, this is what I've always been saying, right? Because what is he saying at this point? He's saying, I've always been saying that safety's paramount, that safety's the most important thing. So he's not putting emphasis that he's saying that it always should be a sanctuary city. What he's saying is it should always be a safe city. Whatever it is to be a safe city is what we need to do. Now, I agree with I'm not sure who made that comment before, but I understand people, in positions of power, if you're a CEO of an organization, if you're in politics, if you run a police department, you have the right to change your position. But when you change your position, that's where we ask for transparency. Advise the public why you change your position. What value did we learn from the mistakes of the prior policies and why we're going to move forward? And here's what we learned, and here's how we're going to implement it. That's not what we're telling you. That would be transparent. That would make sense. But what he's telling you is, no, his position's always been the same. And he did a great job of twisting it. And what he did is he wrapped it up by saying his position has always been to do what it is to make sure the city's safe. So that's how he's getting around this. So that's my question, John, and for you. Is conservative media buying this bullshit, or is this who they've always been in New York City?
The conservative media? I mean, true conservative media, there really is none, I honestly think that the most conservative media that I see out there is people that you would say are not conservatives and probably don't even vote conservatively. And I think I see a lot of investigative reporters in the city, Yoav Gon, Yoav Gon, Katie Honan, Greg Smith. I personally, I don't know their political affiliations. I would believe they tend to vote more to the left. I don't know that. I don't want to say how they vote. But I believe that's true conservative media, because it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. They're actually reporting what the hell's going on, right? They're taking their political bias out of it, and they're just reporting down the middle, where you see, you always see a spin, right? Like when I look at the media, I always see a spin. It's like there's always a spin to me. I was watching this meme the other day. It was a funny thing. The guy's just like throwing things at a board, and it's like Venezuela, Iran, this, that, crime, illegals, and you could show me a headline, and I'll tell you the organization that wrote it. Show me the title, and I'll tell you the organization that wrote it. There's always the spin. There's always a spin. So I think that media is today, unfortunately, it's changing. And that's why independent platforms like this are growing rapidly, is because media there is a control factor in there, and everyone's starting to see it. And then as independent media starts to become mainstream, that you start to see people sell out, like Viral News, New York City, right? Take the paydays. All these people, Benny Johnson, all these people, you start to see them take the paydays. And then you realize where they're getting their funds from and who's funding them. And you're like, oh, now I understand better, And once you see that, then they're no longer independent media, right? They're the mainstream corporate media. And then other independent media will grow. So I don't really believe at this point that in true media. Corporate media, to me, I have a problem with. Does that mean that everyone that works for the New York Post or for the Washington Post is a terrible reporter and is politically biased? No. I'm saying the organizations of themselves, just like the police department, has been politicized. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, it's been politicized. You said it earlier. I think you and I have been saying this for about 2 years right now. So it's a little bit over 2 years we've been doing this podcast, and John and I have been saying since the beginning that independent media, is the way of the world right now. It's the path. It's real people actually giving you real information, right? Because no longer is there journalist integrity when it comes to mainstream media at this point, right? It's almost, and you said it earlier, we've been saying that for a long time. It's almost become religion. It's what you believe, right? If I believe in some conservative views, I'll watch Newsmax, I'll watch Fox. And if I believe in leftist ideology, I'll watch CNN. So it's become just complete belief. It's almost like a religion. I think independent media is the genre. It's the way to go. You get real people providing real information. And even then, we have to try to keep that whole and keep that from actually being infected by politics. Because I think eventually the politicians are going to take the independent media also. They see the path. They see that's the way to go. That's the way to get the information out there. But I'm curious if conservative media is buying this, because, Homan said after the interview that he, after his meeting and the information he's had with Eric Adams, the conversations, is that they both are on the path to save lives. And that's how Eric Adams has been getting around this. What I said before is he could say, well, sanctuary city, I put out a tweet, sanctuary city, not a sanctuary city, tomato. Because ultimately what he's saying is it doesn't matter, right? Tom Homan Tom Homan has to go from A to B, and I have to go to A to B. We're just taking different paths on how we get there. And ultimately the goal is the same. We want safety. We want to save lives. So I think that's how Eric Adams gets around this. That part, I think, is political. It's political genius. I don't know if he came up with that on his own, but I think it is a political genius move. It allows him to fit with any party. He can fit with the Democratic Party, right? Sanctuary city is a blanket protection. He could fit with the Republican Party and say, well, I believe in working with ICE. Because ultimately, in both scenarios, what he's perpetuating, what he's given to the public is saying that both of them provide public safety. And again, Eric Adams is just a complete chameleon. I think he's gaslighting, he's lying, and that's why I just, at this point, I'm wondering when it comes to the conservatives, Is this what they're buying, or is this who they've always been? It's hard to tell.
Yeah. So, all right, let's go further.
Marcia?
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if you could detail exactly the kind of cooperation the NYPD will be giving to federal officials in your quest to rid the city of the violent criminals that you talk about.
We need to unravel all of these rules and procedures and laws and all of these rules and procedures. We need to unravel them and get clarity on what we could do and what we can't do. About 170 crimes currently allow us to communicate and collaborate with ICE after a conviction. We need to examine them and see what, again, my authority using executive orders to ensure that I keep New Yorkers safe. That's my only goal. I cannot make it any clearer, and so if pursuing that goal means that my years and years of advocating for immigrants that are here attempting to find the American dream, if that demonizes me, then I'm gonna take it. But I'm gonna save lives in this city.
Approved actually during the de Blasio administration. Do you feel that since it was approved during the de Blasio administration, that you have the authority to enforce them now, to let NYPD officials enforce them with ICE officials now, so that you can begin doing what you just said you wanted?
Let me tell you one of the challenges that we're having. Currently, you could have one of these dangerous Venezuelan gangs that are here. They can be in real active investigation into some of the criminality that they're doing. There's a lack of clarity that can we assist in preventing the act from taking place. That just makes no sense to me. And I don't know why we want to ignore the fact that there is, from some of these dangerous Ecuadorian gangs we saw on Long Island, the dangerous gangs that we saw coming from other regions, we have an obligation and responsibility to keep people safe in the city. And all law enforcement should play a role in that, all law enforcement. And we should not handcuff law enforcement for carrying out that job. And I think that this entire narrative has been hijacked. There's a great level of distortion. People are trying to push their own agenda. I have one agenda. I've never lied about the agenda. I've never been slick about my agenda, keeping New Yorkers safe. And it doesn't matter if they are documented or undocumented, because some of the criminal aspects in this city are preying on migrants, asylum seekers, and undocumented, and so many levels. And this is not about protecting just certain part. Everybody, everyone in this city should be protected and should not be the victim of violent crimes. And that was the conversation I had with the border czar. We shared that same belief, and we're going to pursue that same belief. And I'm looking forward to that pursuit. Thank you.
Patrick Donahue calls it out right here. He's 100%. What's up, brother? How you doing? He is such a fake person. His farcical attempts to sound more articulate and educated than he actually is bellies his ignorance. He has one agenda. It's make Eric money. Absolutely. And what did he do? He did exactly what I said he's going to do. John, I didn't even watch the entire press with this. I just get, my stomach, I just cringe when I hear Eric Adams. But what did he say? My message has always been the same. It's about safety. It's about safety. But yet, that's true. It's 171 crimes are on the book. 171 crimes are on the books that someone could actually be deported. And what did he say? He said he doesn't know what the plan is, but he said until convicted. And he didn't say he's going to utilize those. He said they have to look into it. So he's paving the way so he can find that fine line. If they're going to implement the plan, he insinuated that they'll decipher and decide and be selective which crimes, right? What else did we see where they're selective, John? Just like the protest settlement, right? They're selective with those crimes and which one's a green light, which one's a red light. And Eric Adams, he wasn't in opposition to the protest settlement, and he's not in opposition to this either. He's not supporting the 171 crimes that someone could be deported. He said we have to confer with the legal team. But yet, my message still keep New Yorkers safe. So he keeps towing that line, and that's how he's getting himself out of this, because that was a miserable press. I mean, he's just completely fake. He drowned. He looked terrible. He always looks terrible. You know, the only thing that looks good is the suit, but his message is completely off. Everything is a complete lie.
I don't know. I think we're beating him up too much, and I think this was political, and I think that he was fighting for New Yorkers by spending billions of dollars and giving it to illegal immigrants while kicking lifelong New Yorkers out of their careers. So I think that we're totally off kilter. I think that we're totally wrong. You know, Sal Greco, shout out to Sal Greco because he posted this interview from 2014 this morning, and I think it proves that way. I think it proves us right. That it proves us wrong. It proves us wrong, Eric. We're just haters. You know, for shout out to Billie Jean, keep saying the bald guy is dumb as rocks. Shout out. This video is gonna prove everything that we're saying on this podcast. It's gonna prove us wrong. And it's gonna prove the fact that Eric Adams was politically targeted, and that's why he's been indicted. So, Sal, you're right. And Sal proved it right here. He proves it. Eric Adams was politically targeted, you know, and this is going back to 2014. This is how consistent Eric Adams has been.
Let's talk about your trip to China. You just spent 11 days over there. How's that going to help Brooklyn? I guess that's the real question.
Well, first of all, it was a great trip, Errol. And I want to touch on, because there was just a repeated story in the New York Post. People need to understand what's the history of this about. My second day in office, I did a press conference when the New York Post put on the front page, who didn't want him dead, the Hasidic man. Ever since that day, any opportunity that they can get to make it appear as though I'm doing something incorrect, they have been doing it. Repeated stories, but that is part of the business. The China trip was an amazing trip. This is not my first time to China. This is my third trip. 2 of those trips I went on my own because I had the largest Asian population outside of Asia in Brooklyn. This is not the first organization that has sponsored me to go abroad. I've been sponsored by nonprofits who go to Israel, to Turkey, to Nigeria, also to St. Vincent. These are the populations of Brooklyn. 47% of Brooklynites speak a language other than English at home. The Chinese community came to me from Sunset Park. They stated they won a friendship arch. And they asked me, can I go to China and open trade? Not only the arch, we want to show our young children in school.
Well, there's no question about there are good reasons for a city that Brooklyn, if it was its own city, would be bigger than Philadelphia and so forth.
Fourth largest.
Sure. So no question about that. I think the stories that came out were saying that the Conflict of Interest Board cleared you, I think, the day before you left, which suggested that you were sort of already in motion, and also that it was a member of your staff who runs the nonprofit that funded part of the trip.
And that's what I'll tell you about inaccuracy. First of all, the Conflicts of Interest Board cleared us long before that. We would not have even started the journey if we didn't believe we can take the trip. We understood the rules. We wanted to make sure we received something in writing. Second thing is, Winnie Greco was not a member of my staff. She's one of the countless number of volunteers. We recruit volunteers to offset the low amount that we are allocated in the borough president's office. I have an extensive volunteer and internship, and I want my interns and volunteers to come from the many communities. I have a large number from the Caribbean community, from the Pakistani, the Yemenis, the entire borough of Brooklyn. And so when you hear people distort the reality and what really happened,
what is the reality then? She's
a volunteer. She's not a paid employee of borough president. She's one of the many volunteers.
On the question of the arch, I remember hearing Marty Markowitz talk about this all the time. I mean, the friendship arch, I mean, my understanding was that he found money in the capital budget for it, that he had talked to Department of Transportation about it.
7 years in the making.
So why go back to China? I mean, it sounds like it's a done project.
Well, no, the arch was only one part of the trip. We visit several different cities. We signed 2 sister city agreements. We sat down with local officials who were there. I have made it clear from the beginning, I am not going to be just a person who's going to be in the borough of Brooklyn. Brooklyn is the 4th largest city. We would like to see commerce, exchange. We want our children to understand that they can communicate not only within the geographical boundaries of their block, they're global communities.
If you could do it again, would you maybe decline money both from the nonprofit and or from the Chinese government?
No, it's totally appropriate. It's like when I went to Israel. Should I decline the nonprofit that paid me to pay for the trip to Israel?
Well, depends on who they are and what they want from you.
And it's appropriate. They didn't want anything from me but to be the borough president that represents the entire borough of Brooklyn. Why should I treat?
But you're saying I don't want to belabor the point, but you're saying at one and the same time that this is going to open up commerce.
Right.
So you say commerce, I'm thinking businesses. I'm thinking about businesses that have an interest. I'm thinking about businesses that might want something from the borough president. I'm thinking about businesses who would then give money to the nonprofit to pay for your trip on an 11-day trip to Asia.
No. And I'm surprised that you were perceived it that way, when in fact it is part of my obligation. In Brooklyn, we have double-digit unemployment. 25% of the borough lives in poverty. I must find ways to bring commerce within the borough of Brooklyn, inside within the United States, as well as abroad. This is not the only trip I'm going to take. I'm going to take as many trips as possible to let the entire globe know Brooklyn is an international destination. And I'm not going to be a MetroCard borough president. I'm going to be a passport borough president.
Fair enough.
I'm not afraid to go abroad. Let me just say this, Dominic. I'm thinking of Dominic. Errol, let me say this. My passport has no more room for visas. I have been traveling abroad. Some people believe a borough president from the inner city must stay in the inner city. I'm not. I'm going to travel the globe to bring business to the borough of Brooklyn, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
He was an international borough president too, Eric. See?
Oh my, he's the travel agent. He's the travel agent of New York City. I mean, honestly, if I have a new travel advice, I want to go to Eric Adams. Eric, where should I go? You know, and who do I get to pay for it? I mean, you know what's impressive about it? Not only did he answer the question, but he doubled down on the whole thing with conflict of interest. Oh no, she's a volunteer. She's not a paid employee. I mean, yeah, that's great. Let's keep using nonprofit money for this. He's someone put he's a passport, bro. I mean, that is insane what he said here. So it's a diverse community. So you're not going to be, you don't need to be in the city. You need to be traveling. I mean, this is 2014. But again, maybe he is a political prisoner, right? I mean, it took them 10 years to finally charge him. And he couldn't even remember. He didn't even know he was talking to Errol Lewis. Because you know what I realized with Eric Adams? He's a fast talker. While he's saying this stuff, in his mind also he has to think about the lie. So that's why he can't even call Errol, and he thinks he's talking to Dominic. Because and listen, Mikey G, Metal Detective in Long Island, said it right here. What is the borough president from Brooklyn? Why does he need to go to China? That's the bottom line. Why does he need to go to China? And I think somebody else hit us up with coffee and donuts. Let me see. Who we got here? Reels Twin, $5. Coffee and donuts. Here we go. Thank you so much. Eric Adams only want the illegal aliens arrested by NYPD to be deported. He still wants to leave mass illegal aliens in our country, New York City. Yeah, I mean, I think we labeled it out right here. It's the Munchausen syndrome, right? They administer the problems, and now they want to treat the systems. This sanctuary city is a blanket of protection for illegal military-age males, and it further pushes this human trafficking. It further it perpetuates child human trafficking, which I agree. And I've said, John, since the beginning, what did I say? The plan by Eric Adams' administration, along with the NYPD, with this operation along Roosevelt Avenue, does not make things better. It's a Band-Aid that actually makes it worse. It's going to spread it throughout the entire city. These illegal military-age males operating under Tren de Aragua. This is not some chump change gang. This is a gang that has $10 to $15 million worldwide, and this is going to spread through pockets throughout the entire city, and it just furthered this child trafficking. And now also we care about the children, and everyone's buying into it. This is Eric Adams. Your 2014, 2024 Eric Adams. This is your real Eric Adams.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody said Steve Bannon's War Room is conservative media. I'm going to say Steve Bannon's War Room's behind Eric Adams. I'm going to say that there's a lot of conservative influences behind Eric Adams. People said Patrick Bet-David. I like Patrick Bet-David. You know why? Because Patrick Bet-David doesn't tell you anything. He asks questions, and he has conversations. I personally like Patrick Bet-David. I wouldn't label him as conservative media. I would label him as somebody holding interviews and having conversations. When I'm saying conservative media, I'm not saying that they're truly conservative. I'm just saying that there's two sides of the wall. But this is who Eric Adams is. He's full of crap, right? He's been taking money from foreign countries forever. And we don't know who Eric Adams is. And it's the same thing here. It's the same exact thing here, everyone wants to forget who Eric Adams is, but I refuse to forget who Eric Adams is. I refuse to. I want to know. You haven't been consistent. I want to know.
We believe the borders.
I want to know why you said this, and I want to know how you feel about what you said at this time. And he has not. He's telling you he's remained consistent. Look at the date, October 3rd, 2023. This is prior to him going to Mexico. This is prior to his trip to Mexico, to his whatever he said, his information gathering trip. He wanted to understand why people were coming over the border illegally. He didn't realize it was that he was spending billions of dollars, giving them $350 a week in food, giving them $10,000 on top of that, plus free food, plus free shelter, clothing, and potentially a lot more things too. He didn't understand that, so he had to go. But before he went, he reminded you this.
We believe the borders should remain open. That's the official position of the city, but we have made it clear there should be a decompression strategy that we could properly deal with the volumes that's coming into our city, and no cities should have to carry the burden of the national government.
Got it? See it?
JF Dot, shout out to you, $9.99 coffee and donuts. I think JF Dot nails it right here and shows a great parallel and really understand Eric Adams, right? Because he's compared to New Jersey. New Jersey's got the most corrupt politics in the entire country. Murphy did the same. 2 weeks in Asia under the same guise of expanding commerce in New Jersey. Yeah. How does your trip to China or your trips to Turkey and trips to Israel, how does that expand commerce, right? What did you negotiate there? Did you create a tariff?
You're racist. You're racist, Eric. You're racist. You asked the question. Right? How dare you? How dare you?
It's true. Hey, listen. I mean that's how Eric Adams has survived, right? Immediately once you attack Eric Adams' position, and we're not even attacking his character at this point. I think if anything, John and I have been saying he's a great character. I mean, he makes us laugh. He's a political genius. I mean, he's a character of his own. But it's very easy to attack his position because there is no position. There is no stance. And the stance is not for the Democratic Party. It's not for the Republican Party. It's not for safety. It's not for the benefit of the city. It's for Eric Adams' pocket. That's what it comes down to. That was such a cocky, arrogant interview with Errol because it was all about his pocket. And he still remains the same. And you see him at that press conference. He's not the same Eric Adams because he's drowning right now. He's actually in a position where he's vulnerable. And Eric Adams is usually in a position where he has leverage and he's in a high position. Right now, I mean, he's vulnerable, and that's what it is.
Yeah, so this is how consistent Eric Adams was. This is what he campaigned on. This is one of my favorites. This is how brutally honest Eric Adams is. This is how trustworthy he is. Listen to what he's got to say here.
I won't have a security detail. If the city is safe, the mayor shouldn't have a security detail with him. He should be walking the street by himself. I won't have.
Heard that? He has the largest security detail of any mayor in New York City history. On top of that, his cops have the largest details in New York City history. Why do uniformed cops need security details? I could see the police commissioner. Why the hell does the chief of patrol have a security detail? Why does the deputy commissioner of operations have a security detail? They're not cops. I mean, nobody even knows who they are. I don't understand. Like, it's insane to me. Oh, and why did the police commissioner's twin brother have a security detail?
That's actually what I was going to say. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, everybody in this administration has security detail. Even the twin brother to the former police commissioner Ed Caban, which we still, again, that's why I say every chief in the NYPD is compromised. Not one of them ever spoke up about that security detail. Could you imagine, John, you and I were on the job, and even as lieutenants, we had a security detail? Not even our brothers. If we had a security detail, that would be shut down in 2 seconds. But nobody said a word because they had something to benefit. But again, listen, I mean, I cringe when I hear Eric Adams. Like, man, does anybody see through the lies? This guy lies about everything. The same guy that said he didn't need a security detail, right? He's a former cop. He's got a firearm. And yet he's telling you the city's so safe, but he's got the largest security detail. We see the entire upper echelon with security details when they go ride these subways, right? Their plan was to ride the subways to see what's going on there, to talk to people. They went with a security detail. They didn't go on their own. Lie after lie. But listen, this is Eric Adams' administration. What is it? Pay for play? That's what this is.
Yeah. This is from March of this year, right? This is funny because March of this year, 2024, while the official position in New York City was the border should remain open, Eric Adams was going to go on another exploratory mission to Mexico to fully understand why illegal immigrants were coming to New York City, to be given everything and thousands of taxpayer dollars, and be given more than military veterans, more than our homeless, more than our seniors, more than our disabled. He had to go to Mexico to figure out why that was. Eric Adams didn't understand. He couldn't figure it out. So he had to go take that trip, or that vacation, to go figure out what it was. But then he cancels the trip because he says it's too dangerous in Mexico. So as he's saying the border should remain open, he's also saying that he needs to cancel the trip because it's too dangerous to go there. But it's not too dangerous to just let anybody walk across our borders. I don't remember what happened in this interview, but this is from March, and this is about Eric Adams and his border situation. This is just a few short months ago.
Agenda. Well, New York City's Mayor Eric Adams nixing a planned trip yesterday to the U.S.-Mexico border, ironically over security concerns.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is a former police captain. All right, joining us now to discuss retired NYPD lieutenant and the host of New York's finest retired and unfiltered podcast, John Macari, and former federal prosecutor Doug Burns joins us as well. John, welcome to the program. I'm going to start with you. Eric Adams, he won't go visit the border here, but it's fine for the men and women who have to work down there, the people who live along the towns. It's kind of just what a slap in the face to say, oh, I'm too good for that. I can't go down there. Oh, it's not safe. But people got to deal with that every day.
You know who else it's a slap in the face to? It's a slap in the face to New York City subway rioters who for 2 years have been complaining of crime, and he's been telling them it's just their perception and fear that's causing it. It's social media that's showing that crime. It's conservative news channels. It's a slap in the face to everybody. I mean, and what we see consistently is transit crime is down, when in fact, if you look at the totality of since when Mayor Eric Adams took over, crime is up significantly, almost near 20%. When we look at 2019 numbers, it's even higher. So it's a slap in the face to everyone. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Doug, your thoughts?
More than ever before, we're seeing these politicians come right out and say everything's down, crime's down, when the statistics may be otherwise. So that's troubling, honestly.
John, we got a little bit more time here. Just again, elaborate just what this does here, to the city of New York. He's talked about how the fact that the border crisis could possibly bankrupt New York City, billions and billions of dollars that could be invested in other things here. Yet again, he doesn't have the guts to actually go down there and face it like brave men and women do each and every day who are working down there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we haven't even fully recovered from COVID. That money could have went towards attracting new businesses, new residents back into the city. And what we see is that he's pushing money towards people who don't pay taxes, people who entered this country illegally, and they're being put before the average New York City resident and the taxpayer. And it's honestly, it's terrible. It's terrible to watch a New York City mayor care more about people who cross the border illegally than the people who actually live and work and take care of his city.
And Doug, of course, the illegal migrant problem also adds to the massive crime problem. And we're seeing both of these things, not just here in New York City, but around the entire country, where every state is a border state. It seems that people who commit crimes no longer have to face consequences. Tell us what you have observed as a New Yorker, but also someone who knows very much what's going on in this country. It seems like the Democrats want to ignore all of that.
Well, even the bigger problem, though, is that they were all driving a narrative about sanctuary cities and we want to welcome everybody. And then it sort of blew up in their face. And instead of taking, some responsibility, which would show a little bit of sort of political character, they make the move of, passing the blame, passing the buck, and again, arguing that everything's fine, which is just crazy.
It's like they're not living in reality.
But you see it, right? This was just a few months ago, how the media has changed overnight like this. right? Just a few months ago, Eric Adams was telling you everything's fine. The border should remain open, right? They're citing all the problems. They're citing that he's not doing anything about it. And overnight, boom, it all changes.
I gotta laugh, dude. John Ranger put there are 2 John McCarrys on my screen. That's too much, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, that's the bottom line. Listen, you can, when it comes to Eric Adams, we could go back to when his inception as mayor. We could go back to a couple of months ago. You could pick and choose different press conferences by Eric Adams, different interviews. And you just compare it to right now, you'll see a huge dichotomy. You'll see a huge change. But what he doesn't do, and I understand, I think people are entitled, as politicians or even running a corporate organization or any form of leadership, to change your stance because along the way you will learn mistakes, right? One of the key elements of being a leader, a leadership principle, is to know yourself and seek self-improvement. And the question is, does Eric Adams know himself? Yes, he knows himself. And his self is really about green. And it's to seek self-improvement. Is he seeking self-improvement for the benefit of the city? He's seeking self-improvement to get himself a pardon. So that's what this is about. So Eric Adams is not leading the city to a safe city. He's leading himself to a pardon. As I said, you could just pick and choose any press, any interview with Eric Adams in comparison to now. It's a huge difference. But at no point has he said, here's why we changed positions. We identified Mexico. We understand that people are leaving because of the dangers, but we can't have those dangers in our country. They've come into the city. We incentivize them. We realize how ineffective, what mistakes we've made, and here's how we're going to go forward. John, I would have no problem with that. Wouldn't you be okay with that if he said that as a mayor and said, hey, here's our mistakes, here's the value of what we've got, here's what we learned, and here's how we're going to move forward? I would have no problem with that. Would you?
I'd get right behind him. I would get absolutely right behind him. But I want to hear how you're going to move forward. And he doesn't even know. He says things constantly. Oh, I can't do that. It's illegal. I'm following the law. It's not true. He can't even cite the law. He says, not in my power. Now he's saying it is in his power. When he's asked anything that he's going to do, and then he says, this is what we're going to do moving forward. When he's asked about it, he gets annoyed and says, I don't know. I'm going to look at my legal team. So he has no idea. But yeah, I'd get right behind him, And before we get off Eric Adams, here's Eric Adams. You're going to hear again how he was politically prosecuted. This is the New York City Democratic primary. This is him in the Democratic primary when he's trying to pretend that he's Donald Trump and Biden's Department of Justice just came after him for no reason. He didn't commit any crimes. He doesn't know what's going on. Listen to the mayoral debate. Listen to what Andrew Yang has to say.
Eric, we all know that you've been investigated for corruption everywhere you've gone. City, state, even Barack Obama's Department of Justice investigated you. You've achieved the rare trifecta of corruption investigations. Is that really what we want in the next mayor? You think you're going to enter City Hall and it's going to be different? We all know it's going to be exactly the same. That's why so many people on the stage don't want you to be mayor. Like everywhere you've gone, Eric, people look and see that you don't pay attention to the rules of the road. You're unprincipled. Like you actually advised New Yorkers last summer to go confront their neighbors over illicit fireworks, and a woman followed your advice, Shatavia Walls, and she lost her life. Eric, we all know that you've been investigated for corruption.
But Eric, it was just all political. This has all been political.
First of all, I love when Andrew Yang called him out on that, right? He identified it back then. He said, you've always been under suspicion. You've always been surrounded by scandal. That's what he's saying. Always, and that's true. Eric Adams has always been surrounded by suspicion. And even further in his tenure as mayor, his entire administration has been surrounded by scandal, right? It's just completely scoundrel. And we're seeing it play out now. And Eric Adams has taken a total twist. And somehow he always manages to survive. Everyone around him, right, gets the brunt of it. But somehow Eric Adams just completely escapes from it. And it appears it's happening again. But again, he called him out on it. His entire political career, after in the afterlife of the NYPD, his entire political career has been surrounded in scandal.
Yeah, so, all right, enough of Eric Adams. He's a phony. He's a fake. He's got no plan. He got abused by Tom Homan, and he clearly had a bad day that day. The meeting did not go as expected, I would assume. So he came out, he was attacking everybody, and he's completely full of garbage. With that being said, last night was a pretty interesting night across New York City. I've gotten numerous videos from friends and family on Staten Island about dozens and dozens of drones being reported across Staten Island. Up in the air at night. Several sources inside of the NYPD reached out to me, let me know there were dozens and dozens of 911 calls about drones. They've never heard so much. I asked my question, what I kept asking, as I said, is there any support being given by either the drone unit or the aviation unit? And the responses at the time were no. Everything's going back to advise the precinct concerned to investigate. How a patrol car on the ground is supposed to investigate potentially dangerous drones, I have no idea. In Westchester last night, a single plane crashed. I don't know if that is the result of drones being in the air or not, but it's questionable, right? There are drones being reported all over New York. I found this feature on X I didn't know that I'm going to start to utilize, where you could actually publish articles on it. So I wrote this article. Where are the NYPD's drones? So on November 13, 2024, the NYPD launched its drone as a first responder program. I give the source of that. During the press conference, New York City Mayor Eric Adams stated, New York City is flying into the future as we keep New York City safe. While drone as first responder program is what precision policing in the 21st century looks like, drone potential is really just taking off. We are leveraging the latest technology to enhance the NYPD's emergency response capabilities, remotely sending drones to the exact longitude and latitude of where an emergency call comes, and sometimes in as little as a minute. These drones will mean more and more efficient policing and will help increase the safety of our responding NYPD officers and New Yorkers. NYPD Deputy Commissioner Operations Kaz Daughtry stated, this is now part of our crime-fighting apparatus, and it is truly a game changer. It is an exciting approach to emergency response that increases our operational efficiency while making everyone much safer. These strategic advantages are the future of policing in New York City and the nation. The New York Post even published an article in regard titled NYPD Beefing Up Its President on the Ground and in the Skies Above, the Future of Law Enforcement. In my opinion, the NYPD does have a need for drone technology. Prior to the launch of this program, we witnessed drones being utilized during a home invasion in Dudleston, Queens on August 17, 2024, where NYPD drones assisted ground units in successfully apprehending the perpetrators. There are many other examples in recent news that justify and warrant the need for the NYPD to have this technology. With that being said, there are also some questionable applications, in my opinion, that the NYPD utilized drones for. Examples of these are watching sharks in their natural habitat or filming fires, both of which duplicate what New York City media outlets tout the successes and needs for the DFR program. Yet now, as drones are the hot topic, we hear nothing. Below are the questions I believe must be answered immediately. Is the NYPD's drone unit responding to these calls to provide critical information to ground support teams? If the answer is no, why not? If the answer is yes, What have we learned so far? Daily News put out an article this morning, I believe in response to this, and they reached out to the NYPD, and this is what the NYPD said about it. A spokesman for the police department said he was not aware of any drone sightings on Thursday, which directly conflicts with numerous credible reports I received from both law enforcement and civilian sources. What do you think about that, Eric? There's dozens and dozens of 911 calls. Residents are taking to social media, and yet the NYPD is saying they're not aware of anything related to the drones. They have no idea. No, we didn't hear anything.
I think the drones got you. You froze up a little bit during the. I don't know if you know, during the article. For some reason, you froze up and lost some of the audio. But I think. What's that?
Oh shit! I didn't even know.
Yeah, about halfway through, you froze up a little bit, and we lost some of the audio. But it came back, so they got you ready. But if anybody has an opportunity, you can refer to an X and take a look at John's article. I think you did a great job. I think the bottom line is this: it's kind of on par with what's going on with the U.S. government, right? They're saying, well, we don't know what it is. They're telling you we don't know what it is, but you're safe. How could you know what it is when you don't know what it's not? So I think that the NYPD has some information, and they're not being transparent with the public. How could you not know what's going on with it? And again, drones have been only utilized to assist the human element for boots on the ground, right? We haven't heard how drones are going to be utilized to combat potential other drones in the sky that may be of harm to residents of New York City. You know, is it coming from an outside entity, another country? Is it coming from the government? All these tests, we're not hearing anything. We don't know what is the actual drone program. Is there a counterterrorism program with the police department to actually combat drones in the sky? So I think it comes down to a lack of transparency. Great article. He did a nice job, brother. Squared away. So please, but if you have an opportunity, take the X to see it. But again, what is the plan for the NYPD to actually combat this in the sky? Is it going to be up to the drones? Is it going to be up to aviation? Is it going to be a combination? Don't hear nothing. Lack of transparency.
Yeah. So Mike Freed says the problem, again, great unit to have, just due to federal restrictions and regulations, the NYPD can't do anything. Again, then defund the police. I don't agree that the NYPD cannot observe and monitor and follow to see exactly where these drones are landing. I just don't agree with that statement at all. I don't agree from an emergency standpoint. I don't agree from any standpoint. If that is the case, defund the entire aviation unit and defund the entire drone unit. We don't need it. You know, I just don't believe that's an accurate statement. You know, other people in aviation are saying, well, no pilot is going to get close enough to these aircraft because if anything happens, it's on that pilot. Okay, so defund the unit. That's how I feel about it. If there's nothing we could do, if it's the same thing with the CCRBs, oh, we're not because CCRB is going to hammer us or Bragg's going to do this. Okay, defund the police. I don't understand like where we're allowing us to become completely inept, where we're saying that an organization that we fund billions of dollars a year to can't do things. We fund them billions of dollars a year to do one thing: provide public safety. They sit up on the stage every day and grandstand about how great they are, about how they provide public safety. And you're telling me we can't monitor aircraft from a distance and find out where they're landing from? Why do you have any aircraft at all? Why do you have any drones at all? This is not even like, this has nothing to do with my feelings about the leadership in the NYPD or about Eric Adams or about anything else. This has everything to do with what are you talking about? I don't understand. Please tell me like I'm 4 years old because I'm not understanding any of this.
Well, that's my point, right? First of all, it's lack of transparency. But even with the lack of transparency, it's obvious that it's inadequacy. It's complete inept as far as what their plan is for public safety when it comes to drones. And what I said earlier is that the drone program has only been supplemental to the human element for boots on the ground. We're only hearing about how drones are utilized for canvases, for actually looking for potential perpetrators, all boots on the ground. But we haven't heard, is there a program for counterterrorism to monitor the airspace in and around New York City, right? Especially right now in this era of drones, there should be on local law enforcement agencies, there should be capabilities and there should be systems implemented to actually keep the airspace safe. Also, as you know, as we evolve in policing, we have to evolve in what element is actually brought in crime. Again, if that's the case, then why do we have police at all? Why don't we just defund the entire police department? If you're saying, well, you know, what's the liability on this? There's always liability. And I think that's a great parallel when we talk about CCRB, right? CCRB definitely impedes your ability to do intrusive police work, but either way, we're still doing it. So why is it any different when it comes to monitoring airspace? And again, I think local law enforcement agencies throughout the country are going to have to start evolving into actually being responsible to monitor the airspace that's in and around their municipality or their town or their county. Before we can't always rely on the FBI when it comes to airspace. We have to monitor that airspace also. So again, does the NYPD have a plan? You know, do they have? You know, I was joking around saying, do they have a conditions team with drones up in the air fighting other drones? But listen, policing evolves. John Smith in 1960 didn't even have a radio. We've evolved. We have radios. We have vests. We move on. We have body cameras. You know what? The world moves on, and we have to evolve, and we have to adjust to it. To say, well, you know what? We can't really combat that. Then why are we doing it at all? So we can't just hang our hats.
Yeah, I'm not, again, I just need things to make sense. Why are we taking down drones on Thanksgiving? Why are we taking down drones on New Year's Eve? And then we're not taking down drones today. I don't understand. I'm confused. And then, like, you know, you're talking about intrusive police work, and we say that, you know, the NYPD went, you know, we used to be considered warriors. Now the NYPD is considered guardians, right? We hear that term early and often, constantly from the appointed management in the NYPD. They're guardians. We don't need warriors. We need guardians. All right. So why can't these drones be guardians? I'm not saying to do intrusive police work. I'm not even saying to take them down like I've seen you do on numerous occasions. I'm not even saying to do that. I'm saying, why can't you observe and report like the NYPD and New York City Mayor Eric Adams want you to do? Why can't you observe and report? Rich Kentap asks, how much money has the NYPD spent on the drone program? Well, we heard testimony in New Jersey that the FBI only spent $500,000 on that drone program. And I'll tell you right now, that is a drop in the bucket. I don't know the exact number that the NYPD has spent, but I'm going to tell you right now, the NYPD has probably spent more than $500,000 on their makeshift headquarters for these drones. They probably spent way more than $500,000 just on that alone. Never mind, they want a completely new one. Never mind how much money they're actually spending to purchase these drones. Then on top of, how many employees did they have? 80 or 100? They had over 80 employees, deputy commissioner, captain, this, that, the other thing. What are they spending millions and millions of dollars on this program? Only to be told that, oh, we're not even being told anything. What were we told? We were completely lied to. Is that acceptable for the NYPD? We haven't gotten any calls. We haven't gotten any reports of drones. This is the new NYPD. They lie to the public. They lie to the media. And there are zero consequences and recourse. And nobody even cares. And I have cops on here and I have cops texting me saying, well, we can't do anything. Oh, okay. So we can lie to the public. We can't do anything. So you have faith in your government? You have faith in this police department? Because if this is the truth, I'm not kidding. I will run for office. If this is the truth, defund the NYPD and let's start something else. We'll undo the patrol guide. Let's defund the NYPD. Let's start completely over.
Oh, what kind of faith could you actually have in this administration? This is the same administration under John Schell, Jeffrey Mantry, Tariq Shepard, and Kaz Daughtry that gaslit the public at the height of the protests and these riots and the takeover of Columbia University, where they basically told you that Paul Revere had to come on horseback with a telegram for the police department to actually make entry and to actually bring that place back to a safe haven. So this is the same administration that was gaslighting the public at that time and gaslighting again when it comes to these drones. I want to know, what is the plan? Is it counterterrorism? Is there a new unit that's actually going to monitor the airspace for New York City residents? Do we know? Do we have an eye in the sky? And again, is it going to come down to aviation? Is it going to come down to drones? What is your plan? And if the plan definitely needs to be circumvented and they have to figure out what politics impedes that, what's the potential liability, then you know what? Start getting on it. Eric Adams said he needs to confer with the legal team. Well, confer with the legal team right now. Get on it. This is immediate. We need immediate action. If anything, we should have already foresaw this coming, and there's already should have been measures in place. So again, it's either one, they're being not transparent, or two, they're just so inadequate and they're completely unprepared. Either way, it's a complete debacle, and this administration is just an epic fail, as we always say. And we're not picking on them. The reality is there. It's evidence-based. We're providing for the evidence to show you that this administration is completely inadequate and does not care about safe haven, does not care about public safety, it cares about the mighty dollar. That's all this administration cares about.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, there's no threats. We haven't gotten any calls. This is from New Jersey last night. Look at this. This is from New Jersey last night. Watch this drone. Watch what it does.
Look at this motherfucker. Look at him spraying. Look at that. Look at that. He is spraying the sky again. Bro, this is fucking crazy, man. Look at this guy. They're spraying the skies. Look, he just sprayed that. This guy. This guy just sprayed that. Look at this motherfucker. Look.
Nah, no big deal, bro. Definitely nothing there. Just before you go, Marlin says counterterrorism has drone tracking equipment, by the way, and they have an entire team dedicated to tracking illegal drone flights.
Well, so there you go. So that answers our question. It's a complete lack of transparency, because if they actually have this counterterrorism unit, which I suspect they do, I'm kind of being facetious, right, when it comes to this, then they're just being completely, they're lacking transparency, and they know what's going on right now. But the question is why? Why don't they want to provide the information to the public? Again, perception versus reality. Marlon, shout out to you, brother, because you always say perception management. They want to fight the perception. Change your truth, change what you're actually seeing with your own eyes, what you believe in. So again, this administration, epic fail. They want to gaslight you, they want to lie to you, and that's what they do. So when you say perception management, you know, spot on. I think that is actually the theme of this entire administration, along with the police department.
Yeah, Drone Ranger says there are 58 911 calls between yesterday and today. They were almost all along bridges and parkways around the perimeter of Bronx, Staten Island, and Brooklyn, i.e. Belt Parkway. So, and clearly you see here in Jersey something being sprayed. Could this be something going into your waterways? Could this be something on top of someone's home? Yeah, but don't worry. Because the NYPD hadn't gotten any calls. They weren't aware of one call, but there were 58 of them. Don't worry about it. You know, and nothing appears to be dangerous. None of this appears to be a danger to public safety. So don't worry. You could believe everything that's coming out of Eric Adams' mouth because he's been so trustworthy. And you could believe everything that's been coming out of the NYPD DCPI office because they've been so trustworthy. You know, and then here last night in Westchester, you see an airplane down. Could these things be interfering in airways? I would imagine so. That's what we were told when I've seen the NYPD numerous times take down drones. This is what we were told. I mean, so I don't know where we're going with this. I really don't. I am like flabbergasted by not only the response from the NYPD, the lack of response from the mayor's office, and then the response from cops. I'm shocked by it. I am really shocked. To me, to sit here and say, I don't give a shit, I'll take that response. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't care. But to tell me that there's nothing that could be done and the NYPD can't do anything, you just made the perfect case for defund the police to me. The perfect case for it. All right. They don't keep us safe. Let's go back to the Second Amendment then.
All right. Again, it's everything third person, right? I heard the NYPD can't do anything. I heard Eric Adams can't have an executive order to actually combat sanctuary city and actually change these funky laws. It's everything that they heard third person. They're not actually putting their finger on it and actually putting their own eyes on it. So probably the answer is they really don't give a shit. They really don't care. So then why are you a police officer if you don't care? So again, I say it all the time, right? The world evolves. Policing has to evolve. Not only do you not have to manage what's on the ground, but now you need to manage the eye of the sky. That's the bottom line. We need local law enforcement agencies have to monitor their own airspace at this point. If you go to really rely on the FBI, it's far too late. And I mean, listen, Marlon laid it out right here. Counterterrorism already has a team. They already have the capabilities. So they need to put their fingers on it. Marlon says right here, and this is spot on. This I know. I'm going to read this out here, Marlon. You're right. By the way, intel leads get those cases along with the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force. They concurrently investigate the case. And these drones cases used to, are a big deal with the morning briefs conducted with the commissioners. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for them to say that they're not aware that there were drones in the sky, that's a complete lie. And I'm sure there must have been 1,000. Forget about all those 911s. What's the most important thing right now in the NYPD, John? 311s. There must have been thousands of 311 calls. There had to be. Naked Coffee, shout out to you, $10. Coffee and Donuts plan puts question mark here. Ain't no plan. Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Thanks, gents. Yeah, absolutely. You're not kidding. It is Mad Max. You got things on the ground. You got things in the sky. And the NYPD is going to tell you that they're not aware. John, I would put my money. There must have been thousands of 311 calls.
I don't know, bro. Somebody was asked, where's the Coast Guard? Great question. Defund them too while we're at it. Nothing they can do about it. Get rid of them too. You're letting things fly over the water and into this our sovereign land. Get rid of them. Where's the Coast Guard? Emasculated, inept. Where's the Coast Guard security around Staten Island? Emasculated, inept. Nothing we could do, Mo. Nothing we could do. How to take it? How to put it in our body? You know, nothing we could do. You know, I'm flabbergasted. But on a lighter note, Scooch made it today, and I'm proud of you, Scooch, for making it through. Here's a drone flying over Manhattan last night. Here's Scooch videotaping it.
I see a drone. I see a drone over Manhattan.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I don't think there's much time left. Well, call the kids. Tell them we said goodbye.
Make that call. It's over. Hey, Stephen S. That's hilarious, by the way. Yo, Dave Sevilla, shout out to you, brother. That is outstanding. Stephen S., thank you so much. Been a consistent friend to the podcast. Been on here about 2 weeks steady. So thank you so much for being here with us. $13, coffee and donuts. Appreciate the way you gentlemen think and respect you are speaking out. Yeah, likewise, Stephen S. You always have some great comments. We really appreciate the input. That's what this is about. You know, it's what we think. It's our opinion. You know, could we be wrong? Of course. But this is our opinion based on anecdotal experience, based on the evidence that we have, and everyone has a right to an opinion. So Stephen S., shout out to you, brother.
I'm willing to debate. I'm willing to debate anybody on here, by the way, the case of why, you know, you're calling for defund the police. I'm willing to back up your claims. Yeah, it's clear as day. It's clear as day. Emasculated, inept, can't do anything. We let things fly over our houses, cut off our Wi-Fi, change our clocks. We shouldn't worry about it, though, because I read an article a couple of days from a Navy SEAL that said, don't worry, it's not an invasion of your privacy, bro. Don't worry about it.
Hey, John, maybe Maybe you need to post that picture of you and Justin Brannon. You both want to defund the police. Maybe, you know what, Justin Brannon?
We're
right.
one of the same now. Just
Yeah.
like Eric Adams and Alvin Bragg, one of the same on public safety. Here we go. Me and Justin Brannon, we just aligned.
Hey,
One
listen,
and the same.
I mean, John, we've been hearing that line forever. What are we going to do? What can we do? It's nothing. So, all right. You know, just let these drones fly around while Kaz is out playing his PlayStation with his controller. Come on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's sick. It's good. It's completely the sickest thing. Sorry, and I'm sorry. I've been hearing a lot of things about drones. A lot before I heard about these drones that are up in the sky that we have no idea where they are. I've been hearing about the future of policing. I've been hearing about how the drones are going to assist ground units. But yet last night, even though the NYPD lied and said that there were no 911 calls about drones on Staten Island, they hadn't heard anything. Completely lied to the public. Even though they lied, I haven't heard one thing about this drone team actually assisting ground units. I heard that time and time again. Do you think that they encrypted the radios so that people couldn't hear what was actually happening and how inept and emasculated the NYPD is and how dysfunctional the management in the NYPD is and how this great, utter revolutionary drone program wasn't even used to assist patrol officers who are on the ground in cars to see what the hell's going on up there and to provide crucial information to them? Do you think that maybe, just maybe, they encrypted the radio so the public couldn't hear how inept and emasculated the NYPD was?
You know, it's interesting, right? Because any opportunity like Kaz Daughtry and John Shell for media press to give information about technology, they'll take that opportunity. But they've balked at this opportunity. This they're not taking. And the question is why? Is it because they're unprepared? Is it because they don't want to tell you the reality? What's going on here? I mean, listen, right now we're hearing from the U.S. government, from the Pentagon, a lack of transparency, leaving everyone in the dark. And now we're hearing from the NYPD. They're all following suit. And the worst thing you want to do is leave a society in the dark. It creates anxiety. It creates pandemonium. You know, so maybe that's what they want. But for anybody to say, well, we can't do anything, let's just hang up our entire uniforms. Yeah, I mean, listen. I get it. If you're out there doing police work, intrusive police work, you might far surpass me as the most complained cop. But what are we going to do? Just to completely give up? And that's why we're here putting this information out. We're an entity from an outside force that can actually help within. What are the unions doing about this? What are the unions doing? Nothing. They don't care. It's just about the mighty dollar. Everyone's in bed with the enemy. You think the union's saying, hey, you know what? Forget about just the public. The union say, hey, we got our police officers right now working with these drones out there right now. We got to make sure they're safe also. What's the plan? Nothing.
Well, the unions live in Long Island, though, Mo. I don't
Well,
care.
you're not, son,
I live in Long Island, bro. I don't even live there, Mo. I only go there when I go to Rayo's, when I sit with Big Daddy, whatever the hell that idiot's name is, Bodito. But yeah, I mean, like, listen, I'm not trying to cause panic and I'm not trying to cause alarm, but you should be panicked and alarmed because it's infuriating. The response is infuriating. If you're not infuriated by this, I mean, just continuously send us money and get nothing in return. Continuously just keep buying things that you don't even get anything in return for. Go to the store, throw money at it, and walk out. Be like, oh, no, I didn't even need it. I just wanted to give you guys money. And the store has nothing in it. It does nothing for you. This is the same thing what's going on with the NYPD. Actually, they're lying to you. They're completely lying to you.
I bet Luigi could take one of those drones down with his silencer.
Drone Ranger, send us where you got those 911 calls from, please, because I have a big problem with what the press office said yesterday. That has to be corrected immediately. The lies coming out from NYPD DCPI have to be corrected immediately. I don't know who the Daily News spoke to, but overall, that unit needs a complaint filed against them. That needs to stop happening immediately. This has been happening for over a year since Tariq Shepard was been appointed the Deputy Commissioner of Public Information. There has been lie after lie about the press. They just say whatever they want. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable because if a on the ground, boots on the ground, police officer did that, they'd be fired. They'd be hell to pay. But yet this unprofessional attitude that comes out of that office needs to be clarified today. That's absolutely disgusting. So you lie to the public, you lie to the media, you lie to the press. You basically subvert everybody's First Amendment speech. You subvert the right to the press. You subvert the United States Constitution, the First Amendment, which you swore an oath to uphold. You are a public servant. You are a public servant. Act like one. Act like one. Infuriating. Here is the inept, emasculated White House. Let's see what the White House briefing has to say. Let's see. This is John Kirby.
John, on the drones, does the U.S. government have any of its own imagery or video of these systems?
I'm not aware that we have U.S. government produced imagery ourselves, but as I said in my opening statement, we have certainly done thorough analysis of the existing imagery.
Like from people's cell phones that we're seeing? Basically, with what you're looking at, how can you credibly tell people that there is no public safety threat, there's no national security threat, that there's no reason to believe that a foreign government is involved?
Because the analysis thus far in an investigation that is ongoing has not revealed any national security or malicious intent or criminal activity. But Jackie, I would remind you, we're at the beginning here, not the end. There's a lot more work to be done, and we're working closely with state and local authorities to gain more information. I would argue that we're moving pretty well here with a sense of energy to try to figure out what we can do to learn more about this. We're still in the middle of an ongoing investigation, and I'm up here explaining to you and let you know what we know so far, what we believe so far. If information comes to light that changes that characterization, then my goodness, we'll be the first ones to let you know. But right now, there's just no indication that this is some sort of foreign malign activity or in fact, even criminal.
Well, what I don't understand is, this has been happening since late November. I don't know that the law enforcement officials or residents in New York and New Jersey, or even the Democratic senators who wrote to Director Ray Mayorkas and the FAA administrator today would think that this has been handled with a sense of urgency. But that being said, has the president or the Secretary of Defense issued any guidance to NORTHCOM or military installations to act on these systems if they're deemed to be a threat in any way? And what's the benchmark for that determination?
So two thoughts. First of all, you're right, late November. It is now, the 12th of December. So I think it shows that we're moving on with this and we're going to stay on it. So I want to disabuse you of any notion that we're not taking this seriously, because we are. I can also tell you that if the president as commander-in-chief believed, based on the information that he'd been given, that there was a national security threat at play here, or even a public safety threat at play here, he would issue the appropriate directives to not only law enforcement, but perhaps even the military if that was needed. I want to go back to something I said at the top. There has been no evidence of any of this activity in or near restricted spaces.
That's not what the senators said in the letter. They said, in fact, that they've been observed maneuvering their critical infrastructure, sensitive locations, including reservoirs and military installations, and cited concern from law enforcement about public safety threats because a medevac helicopter was prevented from transporting a seriously injured patient for care because of the presence of these drones.
I stand by my opening statement.
Can you make that make more sense?
Before we before we finish this, I mean, I'm like having a hard time. This shit is boiling my blood. What do you think about what this idiot's saying?
I gotta be honest, I'm really disappointed to hear this from a former Rear Navy admiral. I mean, you know damn well that this is a security threat, and this is a threat to public safety. Again, it goes back to what I'm saying. If you don't know what it is, how could you say what it's not? So again, I think he's been completely emasculated. His wings have been clipped. I mean, he's a former Rear Admiral. This is a guy that is supposed to be highly intelligent. I mean, it doesn't get higher than that, John. I mean, if you look at all the branches of service, that's the highest ranking That's the highest rank that you could have in all the branches is the rear admiral, even higher than a general in the army. This is insane. This is just crazy.
But don't worry, Eric. Don't worry though, because it just started. We're taking this seriously. We just don't know anything, and we're just not telling you anything. But we're telling you, don't worry. It's not a threat, and it's not a foreign entity. But we don't know what it is. So how the hell do you know it's not a foreign entity? Again, talking to us like we're idiots. Again, this is. Let me remind everybody: this is public service in America today. This is how far public service has slid in America, where they're talking to you like you're cattle. Don't ask any questions. If you ask any questions, you're wrong. Just whatever I'm telling you today, you better buy it. Whatever Eric Adams is telling you today, that's who he is. Don't you dare ask me a question. Whatever I'm telling you today, there's no questions allowed. I'm just telling you, we're taking this very seriously. We know it's not a foreign entity, but we don't know what it is. But don't worry, we don't know why they're shooting things out of the sky and dropping things out of the sky either. And we don't know why a plane crashed last night. And we don't know anything. And there's nothing that law enforcement could do. And all these drone programs that we have and the hundreds of millions of dollars we spent on all of this shit, it's really just, we're just not going to even attempt to try to investigate it whatsoever. We're just not going to do anything because, there's regulations and stuff and laws and stuff. Sounds like Eric Adams. I'm not worried though. I'm not worried at all. I don't care. I don't see any issue here at all. I don't think anything's a big deal. I honestly, at this point, I think every fund to the federal government we should have a button right now. Stop. Defund. Stop it right now. There is no need for this guy to collect the check. For you in the Coast Guard, there is no need for you guys to collect the check. For you in the NYPD, there is no need for you guys to collect the check. Stop the button. That's it. Every politician, stop the button. Figure this out, and we'll start paying you again. Until you come up with an actual competent answer and a plan on what actually you're going to do about this, there's no need for you to get paid any longer. There's no need for any funds to go here any longer. Obviously, what I'm hearing is you're on your own. That's what I hear.
You're right. But what's the ultimate question, John? The ultimate question is this. Why? Why is every administration that we see right now, we see the administration on the federal level, we see the administration with police departments throughout the entire country, why are they so inept? Why are they emasculated to the point that we can't rely on them anymore, that they're not serving the public, that they've become so self-serving? It's how do we come to this conglomerate amount of issues when it comes to leadership throughout all the different entities in this entire country? And the answer is why. That's why it was so refreshing, and it was so outside the box to see that politician in Jersey yesterday stand up in the manner that he did and actually stand up for the people. I mean, it was such a shocker. We don't see that anymore. And that's why it was so refreshing and such a shocker, because this has become the norm. I mean, here we have a former Rear Navy admiral. If anybody should have their finger on this right now with drones in the sky, it should be him. But he's playing possum. Everything's fine. How could everything be fine if you don't even know what it is? But the question is why? Why are they playing this game? Are they playing this game because is it actually the U.S. government doing this and they want to see the reaction of the American people? Like I said, I've been trying to go into too much deep state stuff, but there is speculation, and it comes down to why. Why would you be so obtuse? Why would you be so evasive? And how could you be so inept? And how could you actually just bypass this to make the American people believe, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We have an eye in the sky. You're invading the airspace. We don't know what's there. I mean, just normal people, if you come outside your house and you happen to live near an airport and you see a plane flying, you look at it. So what do you think people are going to do when they see drones in a space that they normally don't see things flying around? And again, it's odd. They're not doing it. So what's the angle here? And that's the question. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's listen to this guy. I wonder what he made his wife's boyfriend for breakfast this morning. I'm shocked. It's probably sausages. Let's see. Let's finish up with this loser.
Because I think people in New York and New Jersey see drones the size of an SUV over their house every night and think that that doesn't make any sense.
Certainly, I understand why people would be looking at this and being concerned about it. We're concerned about it too, which is why we have the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. My goodness, looking at this, and we're taking it seriously. We understand that people are concerned. We understand that they got questions. We got questions too, and we're working hard to get the answers to that. What I can tell you as we sit here today, at 2:16 in the afternoon on the 12th, is we haven't seen any indication thus far that there's a public safety risk, and we haven't seen
know what they are.
We are still investigating this. I can't tell you definitively. I cannot characterize for you definitively what these sightings are. I can just go back to what I said at the opening. We've looked at the imagery. We can't corroborate some of the reported sightings through our own expert analysis using sophisticated detection techniques. But that doesn't mean that, we're putting our pen down here this afternoon and calling it a day. We're going to keep at this.
What are you doing now?
We are continuing to investigate it, as I said in my opening statement, to federal agencies, as well as the United States Coast Guard and state and local law enforcement.
Dude, this is like watching a movie. It's legitimately like watching a movie. It's infuriating.
Well, someone brought something up here, so that's exactly what I was referring to when we're talking about deep state. A shout out to you. Kingdom of the Most High says the angle is Project Bluebeam. Eric researched it. Yeah, I'm highly familiar with Project Bluebeam. That's what I talk about when I talk about deep state stuff. Could it be? It's all speculation. And the fact that they're not being transparent and you hear such a ridiculous answer makes you believe it could be, and that's why you start getting these crazy conspiracy theories, and because they're creating this anxiety and they're leaving everyone in the dark. And for him to say, "Oh, it's 2:16 in the afternoon, and everything's fine," yeah, what are you talking about? Because you want to hide you want to change perception. Also, I think when Marlon says perception management, it's not only on the local level. It appears it's on a global level, definitely on a nationwide level. When it comes to safety for U.S. government, it's perception management. That's what everything's fine. Don't let your eyes play tricks on you, and that's what we're seeing here. So, but shout out to you, Kingdom of the Most High. Thank you.
Where is it? So here's a video. Here's another video. This is them all over Brooklyn Bridge. I don't know, man. I'm just not. Listen. I'm not even getting into the conspiracy theory of it or the theories around it. I don't care. I don't care if it's a foreign entity. I don't care if it's the federal government. What is local law enforcement doing about it? The Coast Guard obviously failed. They didn't. If they're coming from the water, the Coast Guard failed. Don't tell me the Coast Guard doesn't have the capability to take things out over the air and on the ocean. Don't anyone try to rationalize that to me, because that is so not the truth. So we have things flying over from the water and they're in here. But maybe that's not the truth. Maybe the Coast Guard is actually doing their job. Maybe they're not coming from the water. Maybe they're coming from the ground. Falls on local law enforcement. What are they doing about it? What's the plan? The plan is, I heard it this morning when I read the Daily News article that said there were no reports last night, even though there were dozens and dozens of 911 calls. Even though there were dozens and dozens and dozens of video, local law enforcement said they have no reports. So I'm going to put up the picture of me and Justin Brannon, and I'm going to say it right now. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm on board. I see what you're talking about now. I see what you're talking about. Inept, emasculated, absolutely highly disturbing to me. And yet there are men in this country that'll sit here and say, what do I need a gun for? We don't need to own a gun. You don't need the ability to protect your family. I called 911. Cops show up. We got the FBI. We got the CIA. What do I need to own a gun? What do I have to protect my family for? What do I have to protect myself for? Here's just another example for people.
Hey, Bones 190, Bones 1999. Thanks for being a friend to the podcast. You guys are asking the right questions, but avoid the obvious answer. They know what is going on. They're keeping the public in a state of stress. Everything is a psyop. Nothing else makes sense. Well, that's what we're saying here, right? We're saying that, well, is it Iran? Is it China? Is it some other country? Is it the U.S. government? The lack of transparency, leaving the public in the dark, the inept inadequacy by this administration under Biden, so emasculated, leave us in the dark, leaves to two questions at this point. Is it just completely, are they so inept that they really have no idea and don't care? Or is exactly what you're saying? Is there some type of deep state stuff? Is it Project Bluebeam? Is it some type of psyop? We don't know, but it leaves room for speculation. So I think we are asking the right questions. I think we are. We're not hiding behind that. We're saying it's very possible. It could be some type of deep state thing. It could be an outside country. We don't know, but they're not telling us. So yeah, it leaves a lot of room, a lot of questions, creates anxiety, creates stress. And I think we've been very adamant about that. And I think you're right. I think you know it very could be a psyop.
Well, it obviously is, but there shouldn't even be room for anybody to do a psyop because everyone should understand that they work for us and you're not going to lie to the American people. And no one's going to sit here and take this. Nobody's going to sit here and fund these agencies and not say a word about it and be like, you know what? There's only so much we could do, Mo. What are you going to do? Don't worry about it, Mo. It's just a car flying over your house. No reason to see any danger here. No reason to see any danger with a car-sized thing flying over your house. That's, since they don't know, I'm going to assume it's unregulated, it's unlicensed. Huge danger to you and your family if something the size of a car just fell through your roof. I'm worried about that. That's a huge public safety risk. The FAA used to be concerned with that, right? That's why they used to take down drones. That's why they have all these illegal drone monitoring programs. That's why they have counter drones. I don't know. So I agree with you. Yeah, it's to build panic. It's to build fear. It's all of these things. It's the same thing. To me, this is the same as the propaganda around the mandates, the propaganda around BLM. It's all the same stuff. But shame on us for allowing it. Shame on us for allowing cowardly people like that to get up at a press conference and say those things. That person should be more afraid of going out into the American public and lying to your face and knowing that he'll never work in this country again. He'll never get a job again. He'll never be respected again by the American people than he should have saying, yes, boss, no problem, boss. But that's not what we see today in this country. We see people are more afraid of being ostracized by their employer and their friends in their little circle than they are about from the American people. If somebody sent me out for that press conference, I am not saying what that, oh, don't worry about it. No, I'm going to be like, yeah, no, we're totally worried about it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. They'll never send me out on that press conference because I'm going to tell you exactly how inept and emasculated these agencies are and what steps we've taken and why we still don't have answers. So I agree with you. Here's what Megyn Kelly had to say about this.
So far, New Jersey Assemblywoman Dawn Fantasia has given the best wrap up of where things stand. She tweeted a long thread on X yesterday after meeting with New Jersey State Police. Bottom line, she writes, we know nothing, period. She then went on to admit, quote, to state that there is no known or credible threat is incredibly misleading. She said the state is shackled with what it's able to do. Any interception must be done by the feds. She admitted at this point, military intervention is the only path forward and said there will be no answers in the absence of proactivity. New Jersey State Representative Brian Bergen told News Nation's Rich McHugh that he actually walked out of the briefing fed up with the lack of information.
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything. Okay. It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? They're saying no threat, but how the hell do they know? They don't know anything. They don't know what it is. They don't know where it come from. They don't know nothing.
Oh, they don't know nothing.
Unreal.
Listen, we're all seeing the same thing, right? We're all thinking the same thing. We put this out yesterday. Megyn Kelly put it out. That's the bottom line. This is the only politician we've seen in a long time that's actually calling out BS, saying, wait a minute, they don't know anything? They're not doing anything? Finally, do we see a politician that's actually willing to serve the public? I hope he runs for governor one day of New Jersey, or even far greater pastures, within the federal government, or maybe one day we want someone like that to be president. Outstanding. Actually looking to serve. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. I mean, you talk about a helicopter that's hovering over this drone. Do we have any pictures of it at least? Do we have any evidence? Nothing. Zero.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last video, and then let's get out of here because I'm annoyed. It's Friday. I want to go. I'm gonna go work out and then enjoy myself and not think about any of this nonsense. And if drones fly over my house, I don't care what the FAA rules are. That's how I feel about it. And I remember emergency exceptions. I know that as a police officer, you could actually defy the Constitution. You could defy the Fourth Amendment and break into my house. In certain emergency situations, you could suspend all of my constitutional rights in an emergency. But this is an emergency. So here's a bunch of drones hovering over LaGuardia Airport. No, just in a protected airspace. No emergency here, right? I don't see anything that could go wrong here, Eric. Nothing. Nothing. No cause for concern here. Do I see? No. NYPD is doing a great job. They are doing a bang-up job on this. What do you think? Good? Just have drones watching our planes land? Good?
Nothing to see. Everything's fine. Nothing to see. It's all good. There's nothing going on. Again, they don't know what it is. And if you don't know what something is, you can't tell me what it's not. And what are they telling you? We don't know where it's coming from, what it is, but it's not a threat. How could you say it's not a threat? Even if it's just to take pictures right now and it's reconnaissance, that's a threat. Threat. That's a preemptive strike that we need to take to prevent any potential attacks. Whatever investigative or intelligence information that's being gathered by these drones needs to be stopped immediately. But again, we got one politician actually who believes in common sense, who actually believes in safety. The rest of it, here you go. This picture is significant of everything that's going on with your drone program in New York City. Welcome to the NYPD.
That's it. So we just we have the CAS signal now for when the drones come. So that this was spotted over Staten Island last night. The CAS signal, and it obviously it's a joke, it's a meme, but I mean it's an absolute slap in the face to me. This whole drone program. I'm going to just say right now, what's glaringly obvious to me is the millions and millions of dollars that New York City taxpayer have spent on this drone program has been wasted. Lighted on fire. Start over again. Because while, there was some good applications for these drones, and I said it myself, the drones that we funded are completely inept to handle the problem that we have, and that's exactly what they should be utilized for. Like whatever their mission was at the time, like whatever the stupid DFR program was, and that was, in my opinion, brought to lower 911 response times, whatever that stupid program was, once these 911 calls happening, they should have immediately been pulled off of all that stuff drones been shipped right to where all the stuff's happening in Staten Island. And again, get up there and let's start trying to attempt to monitor what the hell's happening here. But for a month and a half, none of that's happened. So unfortunately, I don't think there really is a Kazman.
So here's the funny thing, but it's true. John, you put it up. You said, when you just put this up, you said, it's a joke. But is it really? Is it really a joke? You know, there's a little truth to every joke, a little truth, you know, which is what makes it humorous. So, yeah, it's funny, but that's what really Poetry cares about. It's that it's his finger on it when it comes to drones. But now, you know what? If the drones are as effective as you say, now I always say that drones are supplemental to the human element, but right now drones may be the actual first response to the drones in the sky right now. We need an eye in the sky. Obviously, a cop can't get in the sky unless he's there by plane or other type of aircraft. So you know what? The drones in the sky may be the element that we need. We need the eye of the sky. But still, even with behind that, there's a human behind that working that drone. So get those 86 people out of the social media unit and let's start figuring out how we're going to combat these drones if you actually care.
Yeah, Patrick Donahue says the NYPD just promoted the CO of the aviation unit to chief. Surely this drone situation is something he can answer to at a press conference. I'm going to just go out on a limb and I'm going to say he's never going to speak at a press conference, nor will anyone in the NYPD allow him to. So, yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb there and say that. So, yeah, take that promotion for what it's worth. Another waste of money. Defund. Defund the whole program. Defund the CO position. Defund the chiefs. Because it's defund the unions.
Get rid of all these chiefs.
Yeah.
Look, you know, I've heard a lot of people, they like what's his name? Galati, whatever that guy is, who took over transit. Plenty of cops told me, oh, they're in good hands now. What has that guy done in transit? Nothing. Michael Kemper was a better salesman. That's the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, this meme comes out, you know, and this is union representation explained. Now, you know, this is head of the SBA, Billy. No, not Billy. What the hell is his name? Vincent Vallalong, right? So we're picking on him a little bit today, but you could replace him with any of the union presidents. I don't care who it is. I don't care if you guys know them, friendly with them. Doesn't matter to me. Replace this guy with all of them. And here it is. Here's a cop. Well, it's a sergeant, right? Because we're making fun of the SBA, right? So I need representation. I just sexually harassed the subordinate. No problem. I need representation. I just stole from Target. No problem. I need representation. The NYPD denied my religious accommodation and forced me to put something in my body. Nope. Sorry, kid. No jab, no job, as he's sitting there eating a steak. So I think that perfectly defines exactly union representation. Eric, do you see any flaw in the union representation meme that was put out?
You're a meanie. So, you know, the finest Unfiltered, such mean guys. Listen.
Mean memes.
This is spot on. Listen, I had my experience with the LPA while I was being attacked by an overzealous civilian complaint review board. And you know what I was told? Don't worry. Retirement, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to make a lot of money. That's all it's about, is how much money you can make. Not your dignity, not your pride, not your moral principles. As long as you have money in your pocket, it's okay. Because that's what I was told. And I was told even further, John, if you remember, I wish you guys would just stop. I'm sure Vincent Vallalong wants us to stop also. And that's what the unions want. They just don't want anyone to be heard. They want you to be seen and not heard. Just as long as you have money in your pocket, they want you to shut up. And this is the bottom line. They're not willing to help anybody. Marlon Bethel was terminated for not taking a shot. The most ridiculous thing. And the unions are in bed with the enemy. They never stood up for this. Never. I mean, look, we have people being accused of sexual harassment. Timothy Pearson, who's not even employed by the NYPD anymore, who gets representation. And we can't get representation for employees that wanted accommodations for their religion or one accommodation for medical reasons, and I don't see any problem with other, that they just were unsure about it, wanted to ask questions. This was new science. They wanted to ask questions and to feel comfortable about it. What is wrong with that? Naked Coffee, shout out to you, Coffee and Donuts. Here we go. $10 hitting us up for the second time today. Thank you so much. 24-hour marathon show is needed. Aside, drones under the reason of invasion to suspended the presidential transition, maybe. Desperation move. Yeah, I think you know what? I'm down for it. Maybe do a 24-hour move. I probably have no back left after sitting here and see how I'm going to probably see how long we could go without using the bathroom. I mean,
Eric, I'll set you up. I'll check it back up on you for every 2 or 3 hours, but that's about my back is killing me, bro.
But no, listen, I appreciate it. We enjoy doing the podcast. We enjoy doing these shows. You know, we realize long form is the way to go. You know, John and I used to, when we started really getting together, we realized when we give our perspective and our opinions, we would have 2 and 3 hour phone conversations talking about, you know, what we're going to do in the podcast and the episodes. Like, why don't we just do this as an episode? You know, it's now I think it worked out great because now we speak on the phone less because we're doing this for 3 hours. So I think we got all the talking out.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Ron says, I even like that meme. Changing. He's changing. You know?
Wait a minute. Ron, do you like one of the memes? Oh, my God. You know what? Times are changing. Eric Adams is MAGA, and now we got Ron Layson as pro memes. Shout out to you, Ron Layson. He was completely against it, but I love it. Shout out to you. Good friend to the podcast. Absolutely. And enjoy your retirement. Pretty soon we'll release a recorded interview with Ron Layson where he goes on and gives a articulate, very extensive review of his career. A lot of different places he worked, so we didn't get to hit all the different commands he's worked at, but a lot of great information, his perspective on leadership. So stay tuned for that coming soon. And yeah, John, listen, I think this is great. We got to talk about the eye of the sky, drones. And again, I think this is going to come down to, this is my opinion, that local municipalities are going to have to start monitoring their airspace in their jurisdiction. So no longer is it just boots on the ground policing. We need eye of the sky. We already have that in the form of aviation, but we need a new combative form when it comes to drones. And, you know, Marlon lays out that counterterrorism has their program, but there needs to be far more transparency in how local law enforcement is actually going to combat this eye of the sky. I mean, we don't know. We don't know if these drones are taking pictures of your home. We don't know if they have infrared, if they get your bank accounts. We don't know anything. Again, transparency is the key.
Yeah, so like once a month going forward, starting in the new year, we're going to start to host an X Space. So if any of you guys aren't on X, we recommend you doing it. We'll promote it. We'll give it a couple of weeks prior so that if you guys want to come up to the stage and talk, you're able to do that. It won't be your face. It'll just be your handle and your voice. So if any of you guys want to partake in those conversations, and I think those will just be roundabout conversations. And like I said, we're going to start to do some movie reviews as the holidays approach. We're not going to be on every day. I'm sorry. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of traveling that's going to happen in these next couple of weeks, but we're going to conduct some interviews. There will be some recorded interviews coming out. Any of you guys want to jump in on the interviews, let us know. I got a huge list of people, but I know a lot of people are busy during this time. So if anybody wants to come on, let me know. Maybe we could schedule an interview soon. You know, we're going to be doing some interviews soon. And yeah, that's it. And we got some merch that we're about to drop soon. I'm just trying to figure out the best way of handling those orders and stuff like that prior to releasing it. But it's some good stuff. I think they're going to sell out quick. So
I see Corn Pop here. And Corn Pop, you know, I want to find out who you are one day, and I want you on this podcast. We need to talk about the Second Amendment. So John and I yesterday were on somebody's show. Great guy from Arizona. You know, he had a cowboy hat, real country guy, really cool sheriff in Arizona. And we talk about the Second Amendment, talk about concealed carry, and he agrees with concealed carry. So Corn Pop, you know, I hope you come on this podcast one day. We got a lot to talk about.
Corn Pop, Eric aired out his anti-Second Amendment side again because he was saying how he's against open carry, and to not misrepresent a Maricopa County sheriff. What he said was he rather conceal carry so no one knows what he has on him. He wasn't against open carry. He wasn't against it. He said tactically he would rather conceal carry, which I agree with myself.
That's how I feel. Yeah,
I conceal carry. If I had the ability to open carry, and I don't because I never lived in an open carry state, I still wouldn't open carry. I would conceal carry. If I did open carry though, I'd dress like Doc Holliday. I'd keep one right here and one here.
Corn Pop, where are you?
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, I definitely think let's do some fun stuff. We're going, we're closing out the year pretty soon for January 2025. Any of our friends and listeners to the podcast, if you have any ideas for the podcast, we appreciate it. Your opinion is actually important. We'll always take ideas. It helps out a lot building this network together. Please, we're getting close to Christmas here. Go Plastic Communist. Listen, go to our website, and get a coffee mug. Get a New York's Finest Retired Unfiltered Podcast coffee mug. It's got the party department patch on there. So get a coffee mug for Christmas. Have coffee with us. We appreciate it. Listen, friends and listeners of the podcast, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. It's been a hell of a year. Let's continue going. We'll keep you advised of what days will be off around Christmas time, and we hope everyone has an awesome holiday. And thank you for sharing, and we appreciate your perspective on drones. A lot of good insight, a lot of good comments here today. So enjoy your weekend. We'll be back Monday morning, bright and early.
All right, peoples. Sorry, I didn't have this video ready. Later, guys. Monday morning, live 8:05.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed or call us directly on 888-901-BLUE. That's 888-901-BLUE.